Welcome back to my channel Sleep Beneath History, my friend. Tonight, we are taking a slow and peaceful journey into the ancient world, where two remarkable empires stood on opposite sides of a vast frontier. One was Rome, with its busy cities, straight roads, and powerful armies. The other was the Parthian Empire, a land of open plains, ancient traditions, skilled horse riders, and rich trade routes that connected east and west. If you enjoy relaxing history stories like this one, please take a quiet moment to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps the channel grow and allows us to continue sharing peaceful journeys into the past. Now find a comfortable place to rest. Let your shoulders become soft. Allow your breathing to slow. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is nothing you need to hurry toward. Tonight, we will simply walk through history together, one quiet step at a time. Imagine that you are standing on a gentle hill as the first light of morning touches the land. Before you stretches an enormous world. Far to the west lies Rome, with its marble buildings, busy marketplaces, and soldiers marching along carefully built roads. Far to the east stretches the Parthian Empire, where wide grasslands meet fertile valleys, where caravans cross deserts carrying silk and spices, and where skilled riders guide graceful horses across endless open country. Between these two great powers lies a frontier that is never completely quiet. It is not a wall. It is not a single river. It is a changing land filled with merchants, travelers, farmers, diplomats, soldiers, storytellers, and families simply trying to live peaceful lives. For hundreds of years, Rome and Parthia watched one another across this distant border. Sometimes they traded valuable goods. Sometimes they exchanged gifts and messages. At other times, they prepared for war. Yet even during conflict, life continued. Children still laughed in village streets. Bakers still warmed fresh bread before sunrise. Shepherds still guided their flocks across green hills. History often remembers great battles. Tonight, we will also remember ordinary people. As the night grows quieter around us, let us begin with the world itself. Long before Rome became an empire, long before Parthia ruled the eastern lands, countless generations had already lived here. Rivers carved their paths through the earth. Seasons came and went. Small villages slowly became towns. Towns became cities. Roads connected distant places. Traders carried stories as often as they carried goods. The land between the Mediterranean Sea and Central Asia became one of the busiest crossroads in the ancient world. Every traveler brought something new. Sometimes it was cloth, sometimes precious metals, sometimes spices whose wonderful smells had traveled thousands of miles, sometimes ideas. A simple conversation between strangers could carry knowledge farther than any army. Now imagine yourself walking slowly along one of these ancient roads. The air is cool. The morning sun is gentle. Dust rises softly beneath your sandals. Ahead, a caravan approaches. Tall camels carry heavy bundles wrapped in colorful cloth. Their steady footsteps create a slow rhythm that almost sounds like peaceful music. Merchants speak many different languages. Some wear long flowing robes. Others wear short tunics. Their faces tell stories of distant mountains, wide deserts, busy ports, and snowy valleys. One merchant has traveled for nearly a year. Another has crossed rivers that you have never seen. Someone else has visited cities whose names have long disappeared into history. Each traveler carries news. Perhaps a new king has taken the throne. Perhaps a distant harvest has been especially rich. Perhaps somewhere beyond the horizon, another road has become safer. Information moves slowly in this ancient world. A single message may take months to reach its destination. Yet eventually, news arrives. Rome learns what happens in Parthia. Parthia learns what happens in Rome. Neither empire ever truly loses sight of the other. As we continue our peaceful walk, we slowly approach the Western world. Rome is growing stronger. Its influence spreads across Europe and around the Mediterranean Sea. Stone roads stretch farther every year. Engineers build bridges that seem almost magical. Aqueducts carry fresh water into expanding cities. Markets overflow with grain, olives, fruit, pottery, wine, and countless other goods. Citizens gather in busy public squares, where conversations fill the air from sunrise until evening. Life moves with purpose. Soldiers train. Builders construct new temples. Teachers instruct children. Merchants count coins. Ships enter crowded harbors every day. Rome appears confident, powerful, organized. But far beyond its eastern borders lies another empire that is every bit as fascinating. Now let your imagination drift eastward. The landscape begins to change. Wide plains stretch toward distant hills. Gentle winds ripple through tall grass. Horse riders appear on the horizon like graceful shadows, moving beneath the blue sky. This is the world of the Parthians. Unlike Rome, whose strength often comes from disciplined marching armies, the Parthians become famous for something very different: their horses. From an early age, many Parthian children learn to ride. A horse is more than transportation. It is a trusted companion, a partner, part of everyday life. Imagine watching a young rider crossing the open plains. The horse moves with quiet confidence. The rider seems perfectly balanced, almost becoming one with the animal beneath them. There is no struggle, only harmony. This deep connection between rider and horse will one day become one of the greatest challenges Rome ever faces. But tonight, we are not rushing toward battle. Instead, let us spend a little more time understanding this peaceful world. The Parthian Empire is not built around one giant city like Rome. Instead, it is a collection of many regions, each with its own traditions, languages, and customs. Some places are filled with farms beside quiet rivers. Others are surrounded by dry deserts, where only experienced travelers know the safest paths. There are mountain villages, where cool winds blow throughout the summer. There are rich cities where merchants from India, China, Arabia, and the Mediterranean meet one another. Every marketplace becomes a small meeting place of civilizations. You might hear Greek spoken beside Persian. You might hear Aramaic, local dialects, and many other languages all within a single afternoon. No one finds this unusual. The ancient world is far more connected than many people imagine. Trade brings people together. A merchant may never become famous. Yet by carrying silk from one kingdom and spices from another, he quietly helps shape history. Imagine standing inside one of these eastern markets. The morning has become warmer. Sunlight falls across colorful fabrics hanging from wooden stalls. Bright blue stones sparkle beside polished silver cups. Glass bottles catch the light. Bundles of cinnamon, pepper, and fragrant herbs fill the air with gentle aromas. Nearby, a storyteller gathers a small crowd. Children sit quietly on woven mats. Older travelers smile as familiar tales are told once again. Stories travel farther than armies. Some are true. Some grow larger each time they are repeated. Perhaps someone is already telling stories about Rome. Perhaps another traveler speaks of the mysterious horse archers of Parthia. Each listener imagines lands they have never seen. In many ways, tonight we are doing exactly the same. As afternoon slowly turns toward evening, the pace of the city changes. Shopkeepers begin packing away valuable goods. Families return home. The smell of fresh bread drifts through narrow streets. Oil lamps begin to glow inside quiet houses. Parents call children indoors. Animals settle into their shelters. The sky becomes painted with soft orange light. Above everything, countless stars slowly appear. Thousands of years ago, these same stars watched over Rome. These same stars watched over Parthia. The people beneath them could not know that centuries later, others would still tell their stories. As darkness gently settles across the land, we continue our peaceful journey. Our path leads toward one of history's most remarkable encounters. Two civilizations, two different ways of ruling, two different ways of fighting, two different visions of power. Neither side fully understands the other. Yet both are curious, both are cautious, and both know that somewhere beyond the horizon lives another great empire. Their meeting will shape the history of the ancient world for generations. But that story can wait just a little longer. For now, simply enjoy the quiet evening. Imagine a soft breeze crossing the open plains. Listen to the distant sound of horses moving through tall grass. Watch small campfires flicker beneath a sky overflowing with stars. Somewhere in the darkness, a merchant prepares for tomorrow's journey. A Roman messenger checks his maps beside a lantern. A Parthian rider gently brushes his faithful horse before resting for the night. None of them know exactly what tomorrow will bring. Yet each becomes a small part of the great story we are following together. As the night grows deeper and more peaceful, our own journey gently continues. In the next chapter, we will slowly discover how the Parthian Empire first rose to power, how a small kingdom grew into one of Rome's greatest rivals, and how the lives of ordinary people unfolded beneath the rule of kings whose names still echo through history. So for now, let your breathing remain slow. Let your thoughts drift as gently as the evening wind across the ancient plains. Our walk through history has only just begun. The morning returns slowly. The stars fade one by one, and the eastern sky begins to glow with soft shades of gold and pale blue. A cool breeze moves across the open plains, carrying the scent of fresh grass and distant rivers. Somewhere nearby, a bird begins its quiet morning song. Another soon answers. Before long, the land feels awake once more. Imagine that you are standing beside a gentle stream. The water flows quietly over smooth stones, just as it has for countless generations. Around you, the world is peaceful. A few horses graze in the distance. Thin trails of smoke rise from cooking fires as families prepare the first meal of the day. This is not yet the mighty Parthian Empire that history remembers. It is simply a land where people live close to nature. Children help gather water. Parents prepare bread. Older family members tell stories, while the morning sun slowly climbs higher into the sky. Life begins quietly, just as it does in every age. As we continue our gentle walk, let us travel back more than 2,000 years. Long before the Parthians became one of Rome's greatest rivals, another empire ruled these lands. The mighty Persian Empire had once stretched across an enormous part of the world. It connected many different peoples, languages, and traditions. For generations, it was one of the greatest powers anyone had ever seen. But history is always changing. No empire remains the same forever. Kings grow old. New rulers appear. Borders shift. Cities rise and fall. The seasons continue their endless rhythm. Then came a young conqueror whose name would be remembered across history. Alexander the Great marched east with his armies, defeating one kingdom after another. His victories changed the map of the ancient world. When Alexander reached Persia, the old empire slowly came to an end. Yet even Alexander's great achievements could not last forever. After his death, his enormous empire was divided among his generals. Each general ruled a different part. The eastern lands, eventually came under the control of rulers known as the Seleucids. The Seleucid king tried to govern a vast region filled with many different cultures. Some cities welcomed them. Others simply accepted the new rulers because life had to continue. Farmers still planted crops. Merchants still opened their shops. Families still celebrated weddings and welcomed newborn children. Ordinary life often changes much more slowly than kingdoms do. As the years passed, the Seleucid Empire became very large. Perhaps too large. The farther an empire spreads, the more difficult it becomes to govern every distant town and village. Messages travel slowly. Soldiers cannot be everywhere at once. Local leaders begin making more decisions on their own. Some dream of independence. Others simply hope for peaceful lives. Among these distant eastern lands lived a people who would quietly change history. They were known as the Parni. The Parni were skilled riders who lived near the great open plains. Their lives were shaped by wide skis, strong horses, changing seasons, and endless horizons. Imagine riding across these grasslands. There are no crowded streets, no towering stone buildings, only open country stretching farther than the eye can see. The wind becomes your constant companion. The rhythm of the horse beneath you feels steady and calming. For the Parni, riding was not something unusual. It was simply part of everyday life. Children learned to ride while they were still very young. They cared for horses with patience and respect. A healthy horse meant freedom. It meant travel. It meant work. It meant survival. One leader among the Parni would become especially important. His name was Arsaces. History remembers him as the man who laid the foundation for the Parthian kingdom. We know only part of his story. Ancient records do not tell us everything. Some details have been lost to time. But even through those missing pieces, we can still imagine the world he lived in. Picture Arsaces standing with his companions beneath the clear morning sky. Around them, horses wait quietly. The grass moves gently in the wind. They speak not of creating a great empire. They speak of protecting their people, of finding opportunity, of building a better future. Sometimes history begins with very simple hopes. Arsaces and his followers gradually gained control over a region called Parthia. At first, it was only a small kingdom. No one could know what it would become. There were no grand celebrations announcing the birth of a future empire. Life simply continued. Fields were planted. Homes were built. Families gathered around evening fires. Yet little by little, something important was happening. The kingdom grew stronger. Its leaders proved capable. Its riders defended their land well. Nearby rulers began paying closer attention. As the night grows quiet in our own world, let us pause for a moment to appreciate how slowly history often unfolds. Many famous events seem sudden when we read about them today. But the people living through those years rarely noticed dramatic changes from one day to the next. One harvest followed another. One child grew into adulthood. One king replaced another. Only after many years could anyone look back and see how much had changed. The early Parthian rulers understood their land well. They knew its rivers, its deserts, its mountains, its hidden paths. Local knowledge became one of their greatest strengths. An invading army might see only empty plains. The people who lived there saw familiar roads, watering places, and safe camps. Every landscape tells a different story to those who know it well. As their kingdom expanded, the Parthians welcomed many different communities. Farmers continued working their fields. Craftsmen shaped pottery and metal. Builders repaired walls and homes. Merchants carried goods between distant cities. Unlike some rulers who tried to erase local traditions, the Parthians often allowed different cultures to continue many of their own customs. This helped create stability. People were often happier when they could continue speaking their own language, worshiping in familiar ways, and celebrating old traditions. Imagine visiting one small village during these early years. The houses are built from sun-dried bricks. Flat roofs catch the warm afternoon sunlight. Goats wander slowly through narrow paths. A potter carefully shapes wet clay on a spinning wheel. Nearby, women grind grain into flour using smooth stone mills. Children laugh as they chase one another around a fig tree. An elderly man repairs a wooden cart while quietly humming a tune he learned as a child. None of these people spend their days thinking about empires. Their concerns are much simpler. Will the harvest be good? Will the rains arrive on time? Will everyone's health remain strong through the winter? History often celebrates kings. But kingdoms survive because ordinary people continue doing ordinary work. As the years passed, the Parthian kingdom became wealthier. Trade played a large part in this success. Its location was almost perfect. Roads connected many distant lands. Caravans carrying valuable goods passed through Parthian territory every season. Silk from the east, glass from the west, jewelry, fine cloth, precious stones, fragrant spices, beautiful carpets. Every traveler brought something valuable. Sometimes that value could be measured in silver coins. Sometimes it was knowledge. A traveler might describe strange animals seen beyond distant mountains. Another might explain new farming methods. Someone else might introduce a different style of music. Ideas traveled just as steadily as merchants. The rulers of Parthia understood something very important. Protecting trade made everyone richer. Safe roads encouraged more travelers. More travelers meant more business. More business meant growing cities. Growing cities strengthened the kingdom. It was a quiet cycle of prosperity. Not every year was easy. There were droughts. There were disagreements. There were border disputes. Life has never been perfect in any age. Yet overall, the kingdom continued to grow. Generations passed. Children became parents. Parents became grandparents. The small kingdom founded by Arsaces slowly transformed into something much greater. The rulers who followed him proudly traced their family line back to their founder. His name became a symbol of legitimacy. Even centuries later, Parthian kings continued honoring Arsaces. His memory remained alive. Imagine walking into one of the growing cities of this expanding kingdom. The streets are busier now than they were years before. Merchants greet familiar customers. Blacksmiths strike glowing iron with steady rhythm. Carpenters smooth rough wood into doors, wagons, and furniture. The smell of baking bread drifts from clay ovens. Children carry baskets of dates and fresh fruit. Camels rest after long journeys. Travelers exchange greetings in many different languages. The city feels alive, yet it never seems hurried. People move with purpose, but they also pause. They stop to talk with neighbors. They share meals. They laugh together. In many ways, daily life is not so different from our own. As afternoon slowly becomes evening once again, we begin to notice another important change. Far away to the west, another power is also growing. Rome. Its armies continue expanding. Its influence reaches farther every generation. Road by road, province by province, victory by victory. Neither Rome nor Parthia yet realizes how closely their futures will become connected. For now, They are like two rivers flowing toward one another from opposite directions. They have not yet met, but they are getting closer. The distance between them grows smaller with every passing year. One day, ambassadors will exchange greetings. Merchants will cross their borders. Soldiers will face one another across dusty battlefields. But before all of that, both civilizations continue growing in their own unique ways. As evening settles over the plains, shepherds gather their flocks. The last caravan of the day enters the city gates before they close for the night. Oil lamps glow softly inside family homes. Parents tell stories to sleepy children. Some tales speak of brave ancestors. Others tell of clever animals or wise kings. Outside, the stars slowly return. The same stars that watched over Arsaces. The same stars that shine above Rome. The same stars that quietly watch over us tonight as we journey through this ancient world together. Take a slow breath. Imagine the cool evening air. Hear the distant sound of horses moving gently across the grasslands. Feel the peaceful rhythm of a world that is slowly, almost quietly, becoming one of history's greatest empires. And as the night grows deeper, our own gentle journey continues. In the next chapter, we will leave the royal courts for a while and step into the everyday lives of ordinary people. We will wander through Parthian towns and villages, visit family homes, explore busy markets, and discover what it may have felt like to wake up, work, eat, celebrate, and rest beneath the wide skies of the Parthian Empire. As the quiet hours of the night continue, let us leave behind the halls of kings and the stories of great rulers for a little while. History often shines its brightest light on battles, victories, and famous names. But if we could truly travel back into the Parthian Empire, we would discover that most people never stood on a battlefield or wore a royal crown. Most people simply lived their lives. They woke with the rising sun. They worked with their hands. They shared meals with family. They laughed with neighbors. They watched their children grow. And when evening came, they rested beneath the same stars that still shine above us today. Imagine that you have arrived in a small Parthian village just before sunrise. The world is still wrapped in soft shades of blue and gray. A gentle mist lies over the fields. The air feels cool against your face. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster announces the coming day. Dogs stretch after a long night's sleep. A donkey gives a quiet bray as though reminding everyone that another day has begun. The village is peaceful. Its homes are simple but sturdy, built from sun-dried mud bricks that help keep the inside cool during the hot months and warm during the colder season. The roofs are flat, made from wooden beams covered with reeds and packed earth. From above, the houses seem to blend naturally into the color of the land itself. Smoke begins to rise from a few chimneys. Someone is already preparing breakfast. You walk slowly along a narrow path between the homes. The ground beneath your feet is firm and dusty. Small footprints from children, goats, and chickens crisscross the lane. A cat sits quietly on a low wall, watching the village wake up. A woman steps outside carrying a clay jar. She walks to a nearby well with calm, practiced movements. She has made this journey thousands of times. Drawing water is simply part of the rhythm of life. Soon others arrive. Neighbors greet one another with warm smiles and quiet conversation. They ask about family members, the weather, and yesterday's work. There is no rush. The morning belongs to everyone. Water is precious. Every drop matters. The jars are carried home carefully, balanced with skill learned over many years. Back inside one of the houses, breakfast is being prepared. The smell of fresh bread fills the room. Flat loaves bake against the warm walls of a clay oven. A pot of porridge simmers gently over the fire. Dates, figs, and fresh goat's milk wait on a low wooden table. Breakfast is simple. but it is filling. The family gathers together before beginning the day's work. Children listen as their parents discuss the weather. Will it be warm enough for harvesting? Will the wind remain gentle? Will travelers arrive today? Life depends greatly upon nature. Every season brings different work. Spring is busy with planting. Summer demands long hours in the fields. Autumn brings the harvest. Winter offers a little more time for repairing tools, weaving cloth, and sharing stories around the fire. As the sun climbs higher, the village becomes livelier. Farmers head toward their fields carrying wooden tools across their shoulders. Oxen pull simple plows through rich soil near the rivers. In drier regions, careful systems of canals bring water to thirsty crops. The Parthians grow wheat and barley. They plant grapes for wine. They tend orchards filled with pomegranates, figs, and apricots. Date palms provide sweet fruit that can be eaten fresh or dried for later. Every harvest is the result of patience. Seeds are planted with hope. Rain is welcomed with gratitude. The earth rewards those who care for it. Imagine walking beside a farmer as he checks his fields. He kneels and gently brushes the soil between his fingers. He looks toward the sky. He notices the direction of the wind. These small observations have been passed down through generations. His father taught him. His grandfather taught his father. One day he will teach his own children. Knowledge lives not only in books, but also in memory. Nearby, shepherds guide sheep across rolling hills. The animals move together in quiet groups, nibbling at fresh grass while watchful dogs keep them safe. The shepherd carries little more than a walking stick, a water skin, and a small bag of food. His work may seem lonely, yet he knows every hill, every stream, and every change of season. He notices the first flowers of spring. He recognizes the calls of different birds. He watches clouds gather long before rain begins. The land itself becomes his closest companion. Meanwhile, inside the village, another kind of work continues. Craftsmen open their workshops. A blacksmith builds up the fire inside his forge. Soon the steady ringing of hammer against iron echoes gently through the streets. Each strike is careful. Each tool must be strong. Farmers depend on these tools. Carpenters need good nails. Horse riders require sturdy horseshoes. Even the smallest object has its purpose. Next door, a potter sits before a spinning wheel. A lump of wet clay rests beneath his steady hands. Slowly, almost magically, the clay begins to rise. A bowl appears, then a jug, then a graceful vase. The wheel spins quietly, as though keeping time with the peaceful morning. Children often stop to watch. They wonder how soft clay can become something so useful. The potter smiles. Perhaps one day, one of those curious children will learn the craft as well. Not far away, weavers sit beneath shaded roofs where cool breezes pass through open windows. Bundles of dyed will hang nearby in shades of deep red, golden yellow, rich blue, and soft brown. Thread passes carefully through wooden looms. Back and forth, back and forth. The rhythm is almost like breathing. Cloth slowly grows beneath patient hands. Some fabrics will become everyday clothing. Others will be traded across great distances. Imagine touching one of these finished pieces. It feels warm, strong, made to last. Every thread tells a story of careful work. As the morning turns into afternoon, the marketplace becomes the busiest place in the village. Merchants arrive with carts full of goods. One sells honey collected from nearby hills. Another offers dried fish brought from distant rivers. There are baskets overflowing with fresh vegetables, clay lamps, wooden toys, simple jewelry made from bronze and colored stones. Children eagerly follow their parents through the market, their eyes wide with curiosity. Everything seems interesting. Everything seems full of possibility. The air is filled with gentle conversation. No one shouts. No one hurries. Bargaining is friendly. People know one another well. The market is more than a place to buy food. It is where news travels. Someone has seen a caravan arriving from the east. Another has heard that the harvest has been especially good in a neighboring town. An elderly traveler tells stories about cities so large that their markets seem endless. The listeners smile. Some believe every word. Others quietly wonder if the stories have grown a little larger during the long journey. Either way, everyone enjoys listening. As the afternoon grows warmer, many people pause for a short rest. Shade becomes precious beneath the hot sun. Families gather beneath trees or inside cool courtyards. A simple meal is shared. Fresh bread, cheese, olives, dates, perhaps a bowl of lentil stew. Water is poured into clay cups that keep it surprisingly cool. Conversations drift slowly from one topic to another. There is time to enjoy the meal. No one feels the need to rush. Children, of course, have endless energy. They invent games using little more than sticks, smooth stones, and their imagination. Some race each other across open fields. Others pretend to be merchants, shepherds, or famous horse riders. Their laughter echoes through the village. Parents smile, remembering that they once played the very same games. As the heat of the day begins to soften, work resumes. Caravans pass through once again. Imagine seeing a long line of camels approaching from the eastern horizon. Each animal carries heavy bundles tied securely across its back. The bells hanging from their harnesses create a soft, peaceful rhythm. The caravan leader greets the villagers warmly. His clothes are dusty from weeks of travel. His face has grown darker beneath the sun. Yet his eyes are bright with experience. He has crossed deserts, climbed mountain passes, visited cities filled with people from lands beyond imagination. He brings silk, fine spices, glassware, perhaps even stories from places as distant as India or China. In return, he purchases local goods before continuing his long journey westward. Every caravan reminds the villagers that their quiet home is connected to a much larger world. The road stretches farther than anyone can see. As the night grows quiet once more, the village begins preparing for evening. Animals are brought safely into their pens. Tools are cleaned and stored. Children help carry bundles of firewood. The smell of cooking fills the air once again. Tonight, perhaps there is roasted lamb shared among several families. Perhaps there is a rich stew flavored with onions, herbs, and barley. Perhaps there are fresh figs picked only hours earlier. Meals are shared together. Stories are shared as well. An elderly grandmother begins telling a tale she first heard when she herself was very young. The children know the beginning by heart. Still, they listen with complete attention. Some stories are worth hearing again and again. The fire crackles softly. Oil lamps cast warm light against the walls. Outside, the stars slowly appear above the quiet village. Someone begins playing a simple tune on a reed flute. The music drifts gently through the cool evening air. It is not performed for a crowd. It is simply part of life. Perhaps a young couple sits nearby, quietly speaking about their future. Perhaps grandparents watch sleepy grandchildren slowly close their eyes. Perhaps a traveler gazes upward, wondering how many more roads still lie ahead. The village grows quieter. Doors close. Animals settle for the night. The last voices fade into whispers. Only the gentle sounds of insects and the soft evening breeze remain. If you were standing here, you might notice something surprising. Life feels familiar. The houses are different. The clothing is different. The language is different. Yet the hopes of the people are much the same as our own. They hope for healthy children, for good harvests, for peaceful neighbors, for safe journeys, for enough food to share, for another beautiful sunrise. Across thousands of years, these simple hopes have hardly changed at all. And perhaps that is one of the quiet lessons history offers us. Empires may rise. Kings may come and go. Borders may change. But ordinary people continue to build homes, share meals, tell stories, and care for one another. As our own evening becomes deeper and more peaceful, let us leave this quiet village exactly as we found it. The lamps still glow softly behind the windows. The stars shine overhead. A horse stamps gently in its stable. A sleepy child dreams beneath a woven blanket. The village rests. And so, with calm hearts and unhurried steps, we continue our journey. In the next chapter, we will step beyond the villages and into the great roads of the Parthian Empire, following the merchants and caravans that carried silk, spices, precious metals, and stories across continents, connecting Rome, Parthia, India, and even the distant lands of China in one of the ancient world's greatest networks of trade. As the quiet village slips gently behind us, let us continue our peaceful journey. The first light of another morning spreads across the wide horizon. The air is cool, and the land seems to stretch forever. A gentle wind moves through the grasses, making them sway like waves upon a quiet sea. Imagine standing beside an ancient road. It is not paved with smooth stone like many of Rome's famous highways. Instead, it is a well-traveled path, shaped by countless footsteps, horse hooves, camel tracks, and wagon wheels. For generations, people have followed this road. Every traveler leaves behind only faint marks in the dust, yet together they create one of the most important paths in the ancient world. You are not alone. In the distance, a caravan slowly approaches. At first, it is little more than a line upon the horizon. As it comes nearer, individual figures begin to appear. Tall camels walk with slow, steady steps. Horses carry riders dressed in long robes. Donkeys pull small carts filled with carefully packed bundles. No one seems to be in a hurry. Long journeys teach patience. A merchant knows that rushing only tires the animals. Better to travel at a calm, steady pace, resting when needed and moving again when the morning is cool. The bells hanging from the camels' harnesses create a soft, gentle rhythm. Clink, clink, clink. The sound seems to blend naturally with the breeze. Welcome to one of the great caravan routes of the Parthian Empire. Long before airplanes crossed the seas or ships powered by engines sailed the seas, these roads connected distant civilizations. Through them flowed not only goods, but also knowledge, ideas, beliefs, music, stories, and friendships. The Parthians understood something very important. They stood in the middle of the ancient world. To the west lay Rome. To the east lay kingdoms reaching toward India and China. To the south stretched Arabia. To the north rose mountains leading toward Central Asia. Almost every great journey passed through Parthian lands. And because of this, the empire became wonderfully prosperous. Imagine walking beside one of the merchants. His name has long been forgotten by history, yet his work quietly helped shape the world. His face is weathered from years beneath the sun. His hands are rough from tying ropes and loading heavy packs. He smiles kindly as he checks each camel before the day's journey begins. Every animal carries valuable cargo. Nothing is packed carelessly. Silk is wrapped in layers of cloth to protect it from dust. Glass vessels are cushioned with wool. Bundles of spices are sealed tightly to keep their rich aromas fresh. Leather bags filled with silver coins are hidden deep among the supplies. Each item has traveled a remarkable distance. Perhaps that silk began its journey far away in China, where skilled workers carefully raised silkworms and wove the delicate fabric. Perhaps the pepper came from the warm forests of India. The glass may have been crafted by artisans near the Mediterranean Sea. The caravan gathers treasures from many lands, carrying them onward to new homes. As the morning sun climbs higher, the travelers continue along the road. The landscape changes slowly. Sometimes the path crosses wide grassland where horses graze peacefully. Sometimes it winds through rocky hills where eagles circle high above. At other times, the caravan enters dry deserts where the sand stretches as far as the eye can see. These deserts may appear empty, yet they are full of life. Small desert foxes leave delicate footprints during the cool night. Tiny flowers bloom after rare rains. Hidden wells provide precious water for those who know where to find them. Experienced caravan leaders memorize every watering place. A mistake here could be dangerous. Knowledge becomes more valuable than gold. Imagine reaching one of these wells after many hours of travel. The camels kneel with grateful sighs. The horses drink deeply. Travelers wash the dust from their faces. Simple meals are prepared beneath the shade of woven tents. Fresh bread, dates, cheese, dried meat, cool water poured into clay cups. No feast has ever tasted sweeter than food enjoyed after a long journey. The travelers rest, but only for a little while. The road is long. Many weeks still lie ahead. One of the most remarkable things about these caravan routes is the people you meet along the way. Imagine sitting quietly beside the evening fire. Around you are travelers from many different lands. One man speaks Greek. Another speaks Persian. A woman from India shares stories of great rivers flowing through green forests. A merchant from Syria describes busy ports beside the Mediterranean Sea. Another traveler speaks of snow-covered mountains far to the north. No one shares exactly the same life. Yet around the campfire, everyone becomes simply another traveler. Language barriers exist, of course. Not everyone understands every word. But smiles require no translation. Neither does kindness. A shared meal often says more than a long conversation. As darkness settles across the desert, someone begins playing a small stringed instrument. Its quiet melody drifts across the camp. Others listen peacefully. One traveler hums along. Another closes his eyes. Above them, the stars seem brighter than anywhere else. Without city lights, the night sky becomes a vast ocean of sparkling light. Ancient travelers knew these stars well. They helped guide the journey. Certain constellations marked the changing seasons. Experienced guides could tell directions simply by looking upward. The heavens became another kind of map. As the night grows quiet around the fire, stories begin. One merchant tells of seeing elephants in India. Another laughs as he remembers a stubborn camel that refused to move for an entire day. Someone describes the magnificent cities of the Roman world. Wide streets, grand temples, massive public baths, crowded marketplaces. Then another traveler answers with stories of the Eastern kingdoms. Beautiful gardens, towering palaces, skilled horse riders, endless plains. No one argues over which land is greatest. Instead, each listens with curiosity. Every story makes the world seem larger, and somehow smaller too. Because despite their differences, every place contains families, markets, children, festivals, homes. The road teaches an important lesson. People are often more alike than they first appear. As another morning arrives, the caravan reaches one of the larger cities of the Parthian Empire. Long before the gates come into view, signs of the city begin to appear. Farmers work nearby fields. Gardens spread beside irrigation canals. Small villages cluster around the main road. Then finally, the city walls rise above the plain. Strong gates stand open during daylight hours. Guards greet arriving travelers. Some inspect the goods. Others simply record who has entered. Inside, the city feels wonderfully alive. Imagine walking slowly through its streets. The smell of fresh bread drifts from bakeries. Blacksmiths shape glowing iron. Potters display rows of beautifully painted jars. Jewelry sparkles beneath the morning sun. Colorful carpets hang outside workshops. Children weave between adults carrying baskets of fruit. Donkeys patiently pull small carts through the busy streets. Every corner offers something new to discover. The marketplace is especially lively. Here, the ancient world gathers together. A Roman merchant carefully examines fine Eastern silk. Nearby, an Indian trader purchases beautifully worked silver. A local farmer sells fresh vegetables grown just outside the city walls. Money changes hands. Goods exchange owners. But perhaps even more valuable are the conversations. A Roman learns about distant Eastern customs. A Parthian hears news from Egypt. Someone speaks of changing, weather patterns affecting harvests hundreds of miles away. Information spreads quietly. It moves from one conversation to another. Sometimes, a single piece of news travels farther than any caravan. The rulers of the Parthian Empire understand how important these cities are. Taxes collected from trade help support the kingdom. Roads are maintained. Caravan routes remain protected. Bandits are discouraged whenever possible. Merchants prefer safe roads. Safe roads encourage more trade. And more trade brings greater prosperity. It is a simple idea. Yet it helps build one of the wealthiest empires of its time. Now imagine visiting the home of one prosperous merchant. His courtyard is shaded by grapevines. A small fountain trickles quietly in the center. Guests are welcomed warmly. Hospitality is deeply valued. Fresh fruit is offered first, then bread, then tea made from fragrant herbs. Business discussions often begin only after everyone feels comfortable. Relationships matter. Trust matters. Many merchants conduct business with the same families for years, even decades. A good reputation is one of the greatest treasures anyone can possess. As afternoon becomes evening, the city's rooftops begin glowing beneath the golden light of sunset. The marketplace slowly grows quieter. Shops close their wooden doors. Animals are led into safe shelters. Families gather once again for the evening meal. The caravan travelers who arrived this morning prepare for tomorrow's departure. Their animals have rested. Their supplies have been renewed. New goods have been loaded. Fresh stories have been collected. Soon they will continue west toward Rome, or east toward lands still farther away. The road never truly sleeps. Somewhere at every hour, another caravan is moving. Another merchant is setting out before sunrise. Another traveler is arriving safely after months away from home. The great roads of the Parthian Empire are like flowing rivers, always moving, always connecting, always carrying something valuable. Not only silk, not only spices, not only precious stones, but hope, curiosity, friendship, and understanding. As the evening sky slowly darkens, you leave the bustling city behind. The sounds of the marketplace fade into the distance. Once again, only the gentle footsteps of camels and horses remain. The stars begin to appear overhead, one by one. The cool night air settles across the open land. Far to the west, Rome continues to grow stronger. Far to the east, new caravans prepare for their own long journeys. And here, in the middle of it all, the Parthian Empire quietly watches the roads that connect the ancient world. As our own night grows deeper and more peaceful, let your breathing become slow once again. Imagine the steady rhythm of the caravan, the soft jingling of camel bells, the whisper of the wind across the desert, the warmth of a campfire beneath a sky filled with countless stars. Our gentle journey is far from over. In the next chapter, we will leave the trade roads behind and spend time with the remarkable horses and riders of the Parthian Empire, discovering how a deep partnership between people and horses shaped daily life, and eventually made the Parthians one of Rome's most respected rivals. The stars still shine above the quiet desert. The campfire has become little more than glowing embers, sending tiny sparks into the cool night air. Around the camp, the travelers sleep peacefully beneath woven blankets. Only a few guards remain awake, watching over the resting caravan. Nearby, the camels are lying quietly on the ground. The horses, however, remain standing. Every now and then, one gently stamps a hoof against the earth. Another lifts its head, listening to the distant sound of the wind moving across the open plains. Their ears turn toward every small noise before relaxing once again. As the first pale light of dawn begins to touch the eastern horizon, the horses are among the first to notice. Imagine walking quietly toward them. The morning air feels fresh and cool. A light mist hangs over the grass, and tiny drops of dew sparkle like little jewels in the growing sunlight. One horse turns its head toward you. Its dark eyes are calm and curious. It breathes slowly through wide nostrils, sending little clouds into the cool air. A rider approaches with gentle steps. There is no shouting, no pulling, no sudden movements. He quietly places a hand upon the horse's neck. The animal relaxes immediately. They know one another well. This is not simply a man and an animal. It is a partnership built over many years. To understand the Parthian Empire, we must understand this partnership. For the people of Parthia, horses were much more than a way to travel from one place to another. They were trusted companions, faithful helpers, a source of pride, and for many families, one of their greatest treasures. A healthy horse could carry a merchant across hundreds of miles. It could help a shepherd gather wandering sheep. It could pull wagons filled with grain after a successful harvest. And if danger ever appeared, it could carry its rider safely home. Imagine a small Parthian village as the sun rises. Children have already gathered near a fenced pasture. Inside, several young horses move quietly through the grass. The children watch them with bright eyes. Some are old enough to ride. Others are still learning. One little boy reaches out carefully, allowing a young horse to smell his hand. The horse gently nudges him with its nose. The child laughs. Nearby, an older woman smiles warmly. She has seen moments like this many times before. Every generation begins the same way. Learning patience, learning kindness, learning respect. The Parthians believed that a good rider could never force a horse into loyalty. Trust had to be earned. Every day, horses were brushed to remove dust from their coats. Their hooves were checked for stones. Fresh water was brought to them. Good grass and grain were carefully measured. Even after long journeys, the animals were often cared for before their owners rested themselves. A tired traveler could wait a little longer, The horse had carried the burden all day. Imagine sitting quietly beside a stable. The gentle sounds around you create a peaceful rhythm. A horse chews fresh hay. Leather reins hang neatly on wooden pegs. Sunlight slips through small openings in the roof, filling the air with golden beams that catch tiny specks of dust drifting lazily through the room. The smell of clean straw mixes with the scent of leather and wood. It is calm, comforting, almost timeless. Outside, a young rider begins his morning practice. He climbs onto the horse with smooth, practiced movements. There is no fancy saddle like those used today. Instead, he relies mostly upon balance. His body moves naturally with the horse beneath him. The two seem to breathe together. Step after step, the horse begins walking, then trotting, then galloping across the open field. The rider remains relaxed. His hands stay light upon the reins. He trusts the horse, and the horse trusts him. This partnership took years to build. Many Parthian children learned to ride almost as soon as they could walk confidently. Older brothers and sisters often helped teach the younger ones. Parents watched proudly as each child became more skilled. Learning to ride was simply part of growing up. Just as another child might learn farming, weaving, or pottery, a Parthian child learned horsemanship. Imagine a father taking his daughter for her first ride across the open plains. The morning breeze gently moves through the tall grass. Wildflowers bloom beside the path. Birds rise into the sky as the horses pass quietly. The father points toward distant hills. He explains where streams can be found during the dry season. He shows how to recognize changing weather by watching the clouds. He teaches not only riding. He teaches how to understand the land itself. The lessons continue year after year. By adulthood, many riders know every trail for miles around. They can recognize a familiar horse simply by the sound of its footsteps. They understand when an animal is tired before any visible signs appear. This knowledge cannot be learned quickly. It grows slowly like a tree, season after season. Now imagine that the village prepares for a small celebration. Families gather in a wide open field. Children laugh as they chase one another through the grass. Musicians begin playing lively but gentle melodies on flutes and drums. Nearby, several riders prepare friendly competitions. These are not battles. They are displays of skill. One rider guides his horse through a line of wooden posts with remarkable grace. Another demonstrates how quickly a horse can change direction. The crowd smiles and applauds quietly. Young children watch with complete admiration. Perhaps one day they too will become skilled riders. Among the Parthians, riding was admired not because it made someone powerful, but because it required patience, discipline, and understanding. A proud rider who treated a horse poorly earned little respect. A gentle rider who cared well for animals was admired by everyone. As the afternoon grows warmer, let us travel beyond the village and onto the Great Plains once more. Here, riders often practice a skill that will eventually become famous across the ancient world. Archery from horseback. Imagine several riders moving slowly across an open field. Each carries a carefully crafted bow. The horses remain calm despite the movement. Wooden targets have been placed at different distances. One rider begins first. His horse moves into a smooth gallop. Without stopping, he reaches for an arrow. His movements are unhurried. Years of practice have made them almost effortless. The bow bends gracefully. The string hums softly. The arrow flies. A quiet thump echoes across the field as it reaches the target. There are no loud celebrations. The rider simply continues onward, preparing for another shot. Again and again, practice continues. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Skill is built through repetition, not through haste. One technique becomes especially famous. Imagine a rider galloping away from an imaginary pursuer. Suddenly, while still riding forward, he gently twists his body. Without slowing the horse, he turns and releases an arrow behind him. The shot appears almost impossible, yet experienced Parthian riders perform it with remarkable accuracy. Centuries later, people would call this the Parthian shot. The name would become known far beyond the empire itself. But here, in these peaceful training fields, it is simply another skill to master. To the Parthians, it is not magic. It is practice. Practice repeated thousands upon thousands of times. As the night grows quieter around us, let us remember that not every rider became a warrior. Most never fought a battle. Many spent their entire lives helping their families. Merchants rode between cities. Messengers carried important letters. Doctors traveled to distant villages. Farmers visited neighboring markets. Horses connected communities. They shortened long journeys. They carried people to weddings, festivals, and family gatherings. They helped keep the empire connected. Imagine one elderly messenger traveling a familiar road. His horse knows the path almost without guidance. The messenger hums softly to himself as the afternoon sun begins to lower. He has traveled this route for many years. He knows every hill, every stream, every resting place. The journey feels almost like visiting old friends. The horse seems equally comfortable. Its steady pace never changes. There is something deeply peaceful about traveling with an animal that knows the road as well as you do. Eventually, of course, the growing power of Rome would bring new challenges. Roman generals had spent centuries perfecting the discipline of marching armies. Their soldiers were famous throughout the ancient world. Shield beside shield, step after step, formation after formation. They were organized with extraordinary care. The Parthians understood that they should not try to become another Rome. Instead, they trusted the skills they already possessed. Their horses, their speed, their knowledge of the open land, their remarkable riders. Different lands often create different strengths. The wide plains of Parthia encouraged mobility. The riders learned to move like the wind itself. Quick when needed, patient when waiting, always aware of the land around them. As evening gently approaches, our riders return home. The horses are brushed carefully once again. Fresh water is placed before them. Saddles and bridles are cleaned and stored. The day's work is finished. A little girl quietly hugs her favorite horse around its neck before following her family inside for supper. The horse lowers its head gently, almost as though returning the affection. The stable grows peaceful. Outside, the first stars appear once again. The wind carries the scent of dry grass across the fields. Somewhere in the distance, another rider is making his way home beneath the fading light. The Great Plains slowly becomes silent. If you close your eyes, you can almost hear the soft breathing of resting horses, the quiet rustle of straw, and the gentle whisper of the evening breeze moving through the stable doors. It is easy to understand why the Parthians loved these remarkable animals so deeply. Together, horse and rider crossed deserts, climbed mountains, visited distant cities, and carried the hopes of families from one generation to the next. Their partnership became one of the quiet foundations upon which the empire was built. And in time, it would also become one of the reasons that even mighty Rome learned to respect the people of Parthia. As our own journey continues beneath this peaceful night sky, let your breathing remain slow and steady. Picture the endless grassland stretching toward the horizon. See a lone rider moving calmly beneath the stars, accompanied only by the faithful horse beneath him and the quiet rhythm of hoofbeats fading gently into the darkness. In our next chapter, we will finally turn our attention westward and meet the other great power of the ancient world. We will discover how the Romans first encountered the Parthians, how curiosity slowly became caution, and how two remarkable empires began a relationship that would shape centuries of history. The night is peaceful once again. The wide grasslands of Parthia slowly disappear behind us, fading into the soft darkness beneath a sky filled with countless stars. The gentle sound of horses becomes quieter with every passing moment, until only the whisper of the evening breeze remains. Now, let us turn our attention toward the west. Imagine following one of the great roads that stretches across valleys, rivers, and rolling hills. The journey is long, taking many weeks. Along the way, the landscapes slowly change. The open plains become fertile farmland. Small villages become larger towns. Stone bridges cross flowing rivers. The roads themselves grow straighter and wider. Eventually, another great civilization begins to appear. Rome. Even before reaching the city itself, you notice signs of its influence. Roads are carefully built. Milestones mark the distance. Travelers move in every direction. Soldiers march in organized groups. Merchants pull wagons filled with goods from distant provinces. Farmers guide carts loaded with grain toward busy marketplaces. Everything feels carefully planned. Everything seems connected. Imagine standing beside one of these famous Roman roads just after sunrise. The smooth stones beneath your feet have been placed with remarkable care. They are built to last through rain, heat, and countless footsteps. Some roads have already served travelers for generations. A group of merchants passes by. One carries olive oil. Another transports wine sealed inside large clay jars. Others bring pottery, cloth, tools, and fine metalwork. Every traveler has a destination. Every journey adds another thread to the great web connecting the Roman world. Now imagine looking farther east. Beyond the familiar lands of Rome lies another world. Many Romans have heard stories about it. Some stories are true. Others have grown larger with every retelling. They speak of wealthy cities, magnificent horses, endless caravans, silk so soft it almost seems to float through the fingers, kings dressed in beautiful robes, wide deserts crossed only by experienced travelers. To many Romans, Parthia feels mysterious, distant, fascinating. The same is true in the opposite direction. Many Parthians know of Rome through merchants and travelers long before meeting Romans themselves. They hear stories of impressive stone buildings, disciplined soldiers, busy ports beside the Mediterranean Sea, public baths filled with warm water, grand temples built from shining marble. Each empire imagines the other before ever seeing it. And as often happens, imagination sometimes adds details that reality does not. The first meetings between Romans and Parthians are not always dramatic. Many happen quietly. A merchant arrives at a marketplace. An ambassador enters a royal court. A traveler asks for directions. A translator carefully helps two strangers understand one another. History often remembers great battles, but history is also shaped by peaceful conversations. Imagine one such meeting. A Roman merchant has traveled farther east than ever before. His sandals are dusty from many weeks on the road. He enters a bustling Parthian market where voices from many lands fill the air. For a moment, he simply stands and watches. The clothing is different. The language sounds unfamiliar. The smells of spices drift through the streets. Bright carpets hang outside shops. Jewelry sparkles in the morning sunlight. Nearby, a Parthian merchant notices the newcomer. He smiles warmly. Although they do not share the same language, they both understand the language of trade. Slowly, carefully, they begin to communicate. One points toward a beautiful piece of silk. The other examines a finely crafted Roman glass cup. They smile. They nod. Coins change hands. No speeches are made. No armies gather. Just two people from different worlds meeting through simple business. Perhaps later that evening, they even share a meal together. Through moments like these, the ancient world becomes a little smaller. As trade grows, official representatives also begin traveling between the two empires. Kings send ambassadors. Roman leaders send envoys. Their journeys are long. Sometimes they travel for months before reaching their destination. Imagine one ambassador arriving at a Parthian royal court. He has carefully prepared for this day. His clothes are neat. His gifts have been chosen with great care. Perhaps he brings beautifully worked silver. Perhaps fine Roman wine. Perhaps letters written by important leaders. When he finally enters the audience hall, he notices many unfamiliar customs. The architecture is different. The clothing is different. The language is different. Yet certain things feel very familiar. People greet honored guests with respect. Important conversations begin politely. Hospitality is offered generously. Good manners are valued. Across cultures, respect often looks remarkably similar. The Parthian nobles study the Roman visitor with equal curiosity. His clothing reflects Western fashion. His accent sounds unusual. His customs differ from their own. Yet they too recognize something familiar. He has traveled a long distance. He deserves kindness. He deserves food. He deserves a place to rest after his journey. In the ancient world, hospitality is more than simple politeness. It is an important tradition. A traveler far from home depends upon the generosity of others. Imagine the evening banquet that follows. Low tables are prepared with fresh bread, roasted meat, fruit, herbs, and bowls of fragrant rice. Clay lamps cast warm golden light across painted walls. Musicians quietly play gentle melodies in the background. Interpreters move patiently between the guests, translating every sentence as carefully as possible. The conversation moves slowly. Sometimes everyone laughs because one expression does not translate easily. Sometimes they pause while searching for exactly the right word. No one rushes. Important friendships are not built quickly. As the meal continues, stories are exchanged. The Roman speaks about the Mediterranean Sea. He describes enormous ships sailing between busy ports. He tells of Roman roads stretching across mountains and valleys. The Parthian nobles listen with great interest. Then they answer with stories of Eastern caravan routes. They speak of merchants traveling from India, of horses raised on the open plains, of cities where many languages can be heard in a single afternoon. The Roman listens just as carefully. Neither side knows exactly what the future will bring, but both realize something important. The empire before them is far stronger and more organized than they had imagined. Respect begins quietly, not because anyone says so, but because understanding slowly replaces imagination. As the years pass, more travelers make the journey between the two worlds. Roman merchants become more familiar with Eastern markets. Parthian traders grow comfortable visiting Western cities. Some even learn parts of each other's languages. Friendships develop. Business partnerships last for many years. Letters travel back and forth across the great roads. Imagine a young Parthian merchant preparing for his first journey to Roman territory. His father offers quiet advice before he leaves. Be patient. Listen carefully. Show respect. Learn from everyone you meet. Simple advice, yet good advice in every generation. The young merchant remembers these words throughout his travels. Months later, he finds himself standing in a Roman marketplace. The buildings seem taller than anything he has seen before. The streets are crowded. Water flows through public fountains. Stone statues watch over busy squares. Everything feels new. Yet the people smile just as warmly as those back home. A Roman baker offers him fresh bread. A local craftsman proudly explains his work. Children run, laughing through the streets exactly as they do in Parthia. Slowly, the unfamiliar becomes familiar. He realizes that ordinary life is much the same everywhere. Parents worry about their children. Merchants hope for successful business. Farmers pray for good weather. Travelers miss their homes. These simple truths cross every border. As the night grows quieter around us, it is tempting to think that peace between Rome and Parthia would continue forever. But history rarely follows such an easy path. Both empires continue growing. Both become wealthier. Both seek influence over the same frontier regions. Small kingdoms lying between them suddenly become very important. Who should they support? Rome or Parthia? Sometimes these neighboring rulers choose one side. Sometimes the other. Sometimes they simply hope to remain independent for as long as possible. The balance is delicate. Imagine two mighty oak trees growing side by side. At first, there is plenty of room for both. But as the years pass, their branches slowly spread. Eventually, they begin touching. Neither tree intends harm. They simply continue growing. Rome and Parthia find themselves in a similar situation. Expansion brings them closer together. Closer than either expected. Closer than either can easily avoid. Still, before conflict arrives, many years of peaceful contact continue. Merchants still cross the borders. Ambassadors still carry messages. Travelers still exchange stories around evening campfires. Ordinary people continue living ordinary lives. As the stars appear overhead once more, let us pause beside a quiet roadside inn. Travelers from many lands rest here tonight. A Roman soldier shares bread with a Parthian merchant. A caravan leader tells stories to curious children. Someone tunes a small musical instrument. Someone else pours warm tea into clay cups. Outside, horses sleep peacefully after another long day's journey. No one here knows that future generations will remember Rome and Parthia mainly for their great wars. Tonight, they are simply fellow travelers beneath the same sky. The wind moves gently across the land. The fire crackles softly. The road waits patiently for tomorrow's travelers. As our own journey continues, we too leave this peaceful gathering behind. For although friendship and trade connected these two remarkable civilizations, the future would eventually test them both. In the next chapter, we will gently explore how misunderstandings, ambition, and the desire to protect important frontiers slowly led Rome and Parthia toward one of the most famous rivalries of the ancient world. Even then, we will walk slowly through the story, remembering that behind every great event were ordinary people hopping for peace, safe homes, and another quiet sunrise. The little roadside inn grows quiet behind us. The campfire burns lower with each passing moment, and the voices of the travelers slowly fade into the gentle sounds of the night. Somewhere nearby, a horse softly shakes its mane. A cool breeze carries the scent of dry grass across the open land. For a little while, everything feels perfectly peaceful. And for many years, that peace was real. Merchants continued their journeys. Farmers harvested their fields. Families welcomed new children into the world. Kings and rulers came and went. The great roads remained busy with wagons, horses, camels, and travelers carrying both goods and stories. Yet, as often happens throughout history, quiet changes were taking place. They were not sudden. No one woke up one morning and announced that two great empires had become enemies. Instead, the change happened slowly. Almost so slowly that few people noticed it at first. Imagine standing beside a wide river. At first, the water moves gently. The surface is calm. But beneath it, the current is slowly changing direction. The same was true for Rome and Parthia. As both empires became stronger, they also became larger. Every generation added new lands. Every successful ruler hoped to leave behind a kingdom greater than the one they had inherited. Growth brought wealth. It also brought new questions. Where should the border be? Who should protect certain cities? Which ruler should influence the small kingdoms that stood between the two great powers? These questions had no simple answers. One of the most important places between Rome and Parthia was the kingdom of Armenia. Imagine Armenia as a beautiful land of rolling hills, snow-capped mountains, clear rivers, and fertile valleys. It lay between the two empires like a bridge connecting east and west. Its people had their own traditions, their own rulers, and their own hopes for the future. But because of its location, Armenia became something very valuable. Both Rome and Parthia wanted to have friendly relations with its kings. Not because they wished to destroy Armenia. Quite the opposite. They understood how important it was. A friendly neighbor could help keep the frontier peaceful. An unfriendly one might create difficulties. Imagine the Armenian king sitting quietly in his palace. Messengers arrive from the west. They bring gifts from Rome. A few weeks later, another group arrives from the east. They bring gifts from Parthia. Each delegation speaks politely. Each promises friendship. Each hopes the Armenian king will favor their side. It is not an easy position. He wishes to protect his own people above all else. He knows that choosing one side too strongly might disappoint the other. So, like many wise rulers of smaller kingdoms, he tries to balance carefully between two powerful neighbors. Sometimes this balance succeeds. Sometimes it becomes more difficult. As the years pass, both Rome and Parthia watch Armenia closely. Not with constant anger, but with careful attention. Who has become the new king? Who supports him? What agreements have been made? These questions become part of everyday politics. Now imagine a Roman senator walking through the great forum in Rome. The morning sun shines upon marble columns. Citizens gather to discuss the latest news. One conversation concerns trade. Another discusses taxes. Nearby, someone mentions reports arriving from the eastern frontier. They say Parthia has gained influence in Armenia. Another replies thoughtfully, "We should understand exactly what is happening." The discussion remains calm. No one rushes toward war. Leaders often spend years talking before making important decisions. Far away in the Parthian court, similar conversations take place. Advisors gather around their king. Maps are spread across large wooden tables. Messengers describe conditions along the frontier. News from Armenia is discussed carefully. No one wants unnecessary conflict. Yet no ruler wishes to appear weak either. Leadership often means making difficult choices. As the night grows quieter around us, let us remember something important. History books often describe great events in only a few sentences. They went to war. They signed a treaty. They conquered a city. But real life is rarely so simple. Before every major decision come countless smaller conversations. Long meetings, careful letters, patient negotiations. Many people work very hard to avoid conflict. Sometimes they succeed. Sometimes circumstances become too complicated. Imagine an experienced ambassador riding between the two empires. His journey takes many weeks. His horse moves steadily along familiar roads. Inside his leather satchel are carefully written letters sealed with wax. Each message has been chosen with great care. Every word matters. One sentence spoken too harshly could create misunderstanding. One kind gesture might preserve peace for years. Diplomacy is often quiet work. It rarely becomes famous. Yet it shapes history in ways that battles alone never could. The ambassador finally reaches a royal court. He bows respectfully. The letter is presented. The seal is carefully broken. The message is read aloud. Everyone listens. Then silence. Thoughtful silence. The reply will not come immediately. Important matters deserve careful reflection. Days may pass before an answer is written. Then the ambassador begins the long journey home once again. This slow exchange of messages continues year after year. Imagine how different this is from our own world. Today, a message can travel across continents in seconds. In the ancient world, patience was essential. Every important conversation unfolded over months, sometimes over years. As we continue our gentle walk through history, another change quietly takes place. Both Rome and Parthia continue improving their armies. Not because war is certain, but because every kingdom wishes to be prepared. Roman soldiers continue practicing their famous formations. Shield beside shield, step after step. Discipline becomes second nature. Meanwhile, Parthian riders continue perfecting their horsemanship. Their bows become stronger. Their horses remain swift. Their partnership with the open plains grows even deeper. Neither side copies the other. Each develops according to its own traditions. And that makes both stronger in different ways. Imagine two master craftsmen. One works with marble, the other with fine wood. Neither skill is better. They are simply different. Rome becomes famous for disciplined infantry. Parthia becomes famous for skilled cavalry. Each civilization masters what its land teaches best. Meanwhile, ordinary people continue living peaceful lives. In a Roman village, a farmer plants olive trees with his son. In a Parthian town, a potter carefully shapes clay into graceful bowls. Children laugh. Markets remain busy. Caravans continue crossing deserts. The ordinary rhythm of life never truly stops. Sometimes, while history prepares great events, everyday life carries on almost unchanged. As afternoon slowly fades into evening, imagine standing upon a hill overlooking the frontier. There are no walls stretching across the land. No giant barrier separating the two empires. Instead, there are rivers, rolling hills, open plains, small towns, ancient roads. Travelers move quietly in both directions. Some carry Roman goods eastward. Others bring Eastern treasures westward. The frontier is not simply a place of division. It is also a place of connection. Cultures meet here. Ideas meet here. Languages mix here. Children grow up hearing stories from both worlds. Life along the border often feels richer because of these many influences. As darkness approaches, a caravan stops for the night. Roman merchants, Parthian traders, Armenian guides. All share the same campfire. Someone prepares bread. Another boils a pot of stew. A young musician plays a soft melody on a flute. For a little while, the great concerns of kings seem very far away. The travelers speak instead about weather, road conditions, healthy horses, family news, the simple things that matter most. One elderly merchant smiles as he stirs the evening meal. He has crossed these roads for nearly 40 years. He has seen peaceful times. He has seen uncertain times. He quietly says to a younger traveler, "The road belongs to everyone." The younger man nods. He hopes those words will always remain true. Above them, the stars slowly fill the sky. Exactly the same stars shine over Rome. Exactly the same stars shine over the royal courts of Parthia. The heavens make no distinction between empires. They simply watch the passing centuries. As our own night grows deeper, let us pause here for a moment. The rivalry between Rome and Parthia has not yet become open conflict. It is still a relationship filled with caution, diplomacy, trade, curiosity, and mutual respect. But like distant thunder beyond the horizon, change is slowly approaching. Not because either civilization is cruel, not because ordinary people desire war, but because powerful kingdoms often find themselves protecting the same frontiers and pursuing the same interests. It is one of history's quiet patterns. Empires grow, borders meet, choices become more difficult. Yet even in uncertain times, humanity continues its ordinary work. Bread is baked, fields are harvested, children are tucked safely into bed. Travelers gather around evening fires. Life continues. And perhaps that is the most comforting thought of all. As the cool night air settles over the frontier, our own peaceful journey carries us onward. In the next chapter, we will gently witness the first great military meeting between Rome and Parthia, the famous campaign of Marcus Licinius Crassus and the Battle of Carrhae. We will move slowly through the story, not focusing on violence, but on the decisions, landscapes, and human experiences that made this encounter one of the most remarkable moments in the history of the ancient world. The stars slowly fade as another gentle morning begins. A soft golden light spreads across the eastern horizon, touching the hills, the rivers, and the long roads that connect kingdoms. The cool air carries the quiet songs of birds greeting a new day. Somewhere in the distance, a shepherd leads his flock toward fresh grass. A merchant tightens the ropes around his cargo. A baker places the first loaves of bread into a warm clay oven. For most people, it is simply another ordinary morning. Very few know that history is quietly moving toward one of its most memorable moments. Let us continue our slow walk. This time, our path leads toward the Roman Republic during the 1st century before the birth of Christ. Rome has become wealthy. Its influence stretches across much of the Mediterranean world. Its armies have won many victories. Its roads connect distant provinces. Its citizens speak proudly of the achievements of their republic. Among the most important men in Rome is a wealthy politician named Marcus Licinius Crassus. Many Romans know him for his great fortune. Some admire his success. Others believe he wishes to add one more achievement to his remarkable life. He has wealth. He has influence. But perhaps he also dreams of military glory. In Rome, great victories often bring lasting fame. Imagine Crassus standing in his large home before dawn. Oil lamps still burn softly against the walls. Servants quietly prepare for the day's work. Maps are spread across a wooden table. His advisors speak in calm voices. Far to the east lies the Parthian Empire. A campaign is being discussed. No one in the room can fully imagine how history will remember this decision. For them, it is simply the future. As the morning sun rises higher, Roman soldiers begin preparing for a long journey. Imagine walking beside them. The sound is steady. Leather sandals strike the road in careful rhythm. Step after step, shield after shield. Each soldier carries heavy equipment. A helmet polished carefully, a large rectangular shield, a short sword, a spear, food for the journey, tools for building camps each evening. Roman discipline is remarkable. Everything has its place. Every movement follows careful practice. Some of these soldiers have marched hundreds of miles before. Others are making their first great campaign. Many think about home as they walk. A wife waiting in Italy. Parents growing older. Children who may barely remember their father's face after a long absence. History often remembers armies. But every soldier carries a personal story. Imagine a young Roman named Lucius. He is not famous. No ancient writer records his name. Yet he represents thousands of ordinary men. Lucius joined the army because it offered opportunity. He learned discipline. He made close friends. He grew stronger with each passing year. As he marches eastward, he wonders what the Parthian lands will look like. He has heard stories. Great horses, endless plains, rich cities, silk unlike anything found in Rome. He is curious, not fearful, simply curious. Far to the east, the Parthians also receive news. Messengers ride swiftly across familiar roads. Dust rises behind their horses. They carry important letters sealed with the king's mark. One message reaches a respected Parthian commander. His name is Shorna. Shorna is one of the most capable military leaders in the Parthian Empire. Yet imagine him not as a fierce warrior standing dramatically upon a battlefield. Instead, picture him sitting quietly beneath the shade of a large tree. Maps rest before him. Trusted advisors gather nearby. Messengers describe the movements of the Roman army. Shorna listens carefully. He asks questions. He studies the landscape. He knows the plains better than any visitor from the west. Every stream, every hill, every open stretch of ground. Knowledge of the land can be as valuable as any weapon. As the night grows quieter around us, let us pause for a moment. It is easy to imagine history as a contest between heroes and enemies. But reality is often gentler than that. The Romans believe they are protecting and expanding their republic. The Parthians believe they are defending their homeland. Ordinary people on both sides hope that their loved ones return safely. No mother wishes to lose a son. No child wishes to grow up without a parent. These quiet hopes exist in every generation. The Roman army continues its march. Weeks pass. The weather becomes warmer. The fertile lands gradually give way to drier country. The sun shines brightly over broad plains. Water becomes more precious. Dust clings to sandals and clothing. Imagine the rhythm of each day. The soldiers wake before sunrise. Breakfast is simple. Bread, perhaps olives, water carefully shared. Then the march begins once more. Hour after hour, the sound of thousands of footsteps blends into one steady rhythm. At midday, they rest briefly beneath whatever shade they can find. Some sharpen their tools. Others repair worn sandals. Friends quietly share stories about home. As evening arrives, the Roman camp is built with remarkable efficiency. One of Rome's greatest strengths is organization. Each evening, the soldiers dig defensive ditches. Wooden stakes are placed carefully. Tents appear in orderly rows. Cooking fires begin to glow. The camp soon resembles a small temporary town. Everything has its place. Even after weeks of marching, discipline remains strong. Meanwhile, the Parthians prepare in a different way. Imagine riding with Shurna across the wide plains. His companions move easily upon their horses. They travel quickly. There are no heavy wagons slowing them. No long lines of marching infantry. The open country feels almost limitless. The horses know these lands well. Shurna does not hurry. He observes. He waits. Patience becomes one of his greatest strengths. He understands something important. The land itself will influence every decision. The wide plains favor swift riders. The Roman commander understands discipline. The Parthian commander understands movement. Neither man is foolish. Each trusts the strength of his own people. As the days pass, small groups of scouts quietly watch one another from a distance. Imagine standing upon a low hill. Far away, tiny figures appear against the horizon. Roman scouts observe carefully. Parthian riders do the same. Neither side rushes forward. Instead, they gather information. How many men? How many horses? Which direction are they traveling? History is often shaped by quiet observation long before any great event begins. One evening, as the sun sinks low into the western sky, Lucius sits beside a small campfire. His meal is simple. A piece of bread, a little cheese, water from his flask. His closest friend sits beside him. They speak softly. They wonder how much farther they must travel. They wonder what tomorrow will bring. Above them, countless stars slowly appear. At almost the same moment, many miles away, a young Parthian rider also sits beside a fire. He brushes his horse carefully before eating his evening meal. His family lives in a village farther east. He hopes to see them again before the next harvest. Though they wear different clothing, though they speak different languages, though they serve different rulers, both young men are thinking about home. As our own evening grows deeper, let us remember this quiet truth. History often divides people into opposing sides. Life itself is rarely so simple. On both sides of every frontier live ordinary human beings who laugh, worry, work, dream, and hope. Tomorrow will bring difficult decisions. But tonight the camps are peaceful. The Roman soldiers quietly settle beneath their tents. The Parthian riders rest beside their faithful horses. The wind moves gently across the open plain. Somewhere in the darkness, an owl calls softly. The moon rises above the distant horizon, bathing the landscape in pale silver light. Everything feels still, almost timeless. As we leave the camps behind, our own journey continues at its slow and peaceful pace. In the next chapter, we will gently witness the famous Battle of Carrhae, not through loud drama or scenes of violence, but through the landscape, the remarkable skill of the Parthian horse archers, the careful decisions of both commanders, and the lasting historical importance of one of the most significant encounters between Rome and the Parthian Empire. The first light of dawn spreads slowly across the wide plains. The air is still cool, and a gentle breeze moves over the dry grass. Tiny birds rise into the morning sky before disappearing toward distant hills. The earth seems peaceful, almost unaware that this day will be remembered for centuries. Imagine standing upon a gentle rise, where you can see the landscape stretching far in every direction. There are no forests here to hide behind. No towering mountains nearby. Only broad open country beneath a vast blue sky. The land itself will become an important part of today's story. As always, let us walk slowly, let us notice the small details that history books often leave behind. The Roman camp begins to wake. The first cooking fires are lit. The smell of warm bread drifts through the rows of tents. Soldiers quietly prepare for another day. Some tighten the straps on their sandals. Others check their shields for loose fittings. Helmets are carefully adjusted. Water skins are filled one last time. No one knows exactly how the day will unfold. There is conversation, but it is calm. A few men laugh softly at familiar jokes. One writes a short letter, hoping it may someday reach his family. Another quietly polishes a small charm that his mother gave him before he left home. These little moments are easy to overlook. Yet they remind us that every soldier is also someone's son, brother, husband, or friend. Far across the plain, the Parthian camp is stirring as well. The horses have already been fed. They stand quietly beside their riders, their coats shining in the early sunlight. A young rider gently runs a brush across his horse's neck. Another carefully checks the string of his bow. Bundles of arrows are examined one by one. Nothing is rushed. Everything has been prepared over many years of practice. Nearby, Shorna speaks quietly with his officers. There are no loud speeches, no dramatic gestures. He simply gives clear instructions. The men nod. They understand their roles. Years of experience have taught them to trust one another. As the sun climbs higher, both forces begin to move. From above, they might almost look like two slow-moving rivers crossing the land. The Roman army advances in its familiar formation. Strong, organized, steady, the soldiers move together with remarkable discipline. Each man knows exactly where he belongs. The rhythm of thousands of footsteps creates a quiet pattern across the plain. The Parthian riders move very differently. They do not form one solid line. Instead, they spread across the landscape with great freedom. Their horses move lightly over the dry ground. Dust rises gently behind them. From a distance, they almost seem to drift like clouds across the open country. Imagine watching from far away. You would notice something interesting. Neither side appears careless. Neither side underestimates the other. Each army respects the strengths of its opponent. Rome trusts its disciplined infantry. Parthia trusts its skilled horsemen. Different lands have shaped different traditions. Different traditions have shaped different armies. The morning grows warmer. The bright sun shines down without mercy. Water becomes increasingly valuable. The dry air carries fine dust that settles gently upon armor, clothing, and saddles. Even the horses breathe a little more heavily beneath the growing heat. Nature always plays its own quiet part in history. Now let us notice one of the great strengths of the Parthian riders: their movement. Imagine a horse galloping smoothly across the plain. Its rider remains perfectly balanced. Without stopping, he draws an arrow. The bow bends gracefully. The string is released. The arrow flies with remarkable speed. Then, before anyone can react, the rider has already turned away, guiding his horse across the open ground. He does not remain in one place. He keeps moving, always moving. The horse seems almost effortless beneath him. Years of practice have made every movement smooth and natural. The Roman soldiers remain disciplined. Their shields stay raised. Their officers calmly call out instructions. The formations hold together despite the challenges before them. Their training has prepared them for many kinds of battles. Yet the open plains create a very different situation from the hills and forests where many Roman victories have been won. Imagine standing beside a Roman officer. He studies the distant riders carefully. He notices how quickly they change direction, how easily they disappear beyond small rises in the landscape before returning once more. This is not the kind of battle he has known before. It requires patience, adaptation, careful thinking. Meanwhile, Shorna continues observing from a distance. He does not rush. He understands that time itself can become an advantage. His riders know the land. Their horses remain fresh. Their movements remain calm and controlled. One of the most remarkable parts of this story involves something surprisingly ordinary. Supply. Imagine several long lines of camels waiting behind the Parthian riders. Instead of carrying trade goods, they carry bundles of arrows. As the battle continues, fresh arrows are brought forward. This simple preparation allows the horse archers to continue their work far longer than many Romans expected. Sometimes history turns upon careful planning rather than dramatic moments. A camel quietly carrying supplies may influence history just as much as a famous general. As the afternoon sun reaches its highest point, the heat becomes intense. The air shimmers above the plain. The landscape seems to blur in the distance. Both men and animals feel the weight of the long day. Lucius, the young Roman soldier we met earlier, wipes the dust from his face. His shield feels heavier than it did that morning. His water is nearly gone. Still, he remains beside his companions. Years of training have taught them to stand together. Nearby, a young Parthian rider gently pats his horse's neck during a brief pause. The faithful animal has carried him safely across the plains all day. Horse and rider understand one another without words. Trust, built over many years, remains steady even in difficult moments. As our own evening slowly approaches, let us pause for reflection. The Battle of Carrhae would become one of the greatest military victories in Parthian history. It also became one of Rome's most serious defeats during the late Republic. Roman writers would remember it for generations. Parthian storytellers would also preserve its memory. Yet beneath these famous events remained countless ordinary lives. Messengers, stable workers, camp cooks, doctors, blacksmiths, families waiting hundreds of miles away for news that would travel very slowly across the ancient world. History often remembers the names of commanders, but entire communities shared the consequences of every campaign. As the fighting gradually came to an end, the Great Plain slowly became quiet once more. The wind continued blowing across the grass. Birds eventually returned. The setting sun painted the sky with soft shades of gold, orange, and deep red. Nature moved gently onward, just as it always had, just as it always would. Imagine the evening after the battle. The noise has faded. Campfires begin glowing once again. Doctors care for the wounded with the knowledge available to them. Water is shared. Food is prepared. Exhausted men sit silently beneath the darkening sky. No one celebrates loudly. No one speaks very much. After difficult days, people often become quiet. They think about home, about family, about the long road that brought them here. Above them, the same stars appear that watched over both Rome and Parthia the night before. The heavens remain unchanged. They make no judgment. They simply shine. News of Carrhae will take many weeks to reach distant cities. Messengers will ride across deserts and mountains. Letters will pass from hand to hand. In Rome, citizens will listen carefully as the news finally arrives. In Parthia, families will gather to hear the reports brought home by returning writers. The story will grow with every telling. Some details will become larger. Others will quietly fade away. Such is the way of memory. What remains certain is that Cary changed the relationship between Rome and Parthia. The Romans now understood more clearly the remarkable skill of the Parthian cavalry. The Parthians had shown that they could successfully defend their empire against one of the ancient world's greatest military powers. Respect between the two civilizations grew deeper, not because they agreed with one another, but because each had witnessed the strengths of the other. As the night grows deeper around us, let us leave the quiet plain of Cary behind. The wind still whispers across the open land. The tracks left by horses and soldiers will slowly disappear beneath rain, wind, and passing seasons. Grass will grow again. Travelers will one day cross these same fields without knowing every step of the history beneath their feet. Time has a gentle way of healing landscapes, even when memories remain. Take one slow breath. Imagine the cool evening air replacing the heat of the day. See the stars reflected in a quiet stream. Hear only the distant call of a night bird and the soft breathing of resting horses. Our journey continues, moving away from battle and back toward the everyday lives of the people who lived through these remarkable years. In the next chapter, we will discover how Rome and Parthia learned to live with one another after Cary, sometimes as rivals, sometimes as trading partners, sometimes as uneasy neighbors, and always as two great civilizations whose stories remained closely connected for centuries to come. The quiet plain of Cary slowly disappears behind us. The evening breeze continues to move gently across the grasslands, carrying away the dust of the long day. The stars shine brightly overhead, just as they did before the famous battle, and just as they will for countless generations yet to come. History has turned another page. But life does not stop. It never does. Imagine the morning after many months have passed. The roads are busy once again. A shepherd leads his flock across a hillside. A farmer bends to examine young wheat growing in a fertile field. Children chase one another through a village square, laughing without a care for the concerns of kings and generals. Merchants begin loading their camels before sunrise. The world is quietly returning to its familiar rhythm. This is one of history's most comforting truths. Even after great events, ordinary life slowly finds its balance again. Bread must still be baked. Fields must still be planted. Homes must still be repaired. Families must still gather for evening meals. Let us follow one of the great trade roads once more. The air is cool, and the first rays of sunlight stretch across the dusty path ahead. A caravan prepares to leave a Parthian town. The camels kneel patiently, while bundles are secured with strong ropes. One merchant checks a list of goods written carefully on a wax tablet. Another counts small silver coins before placing them inside a leather pouch. A young apprentice watches every movement closely. One day, these responsibilities will become his own. The caravan leader walks slowly from animal to animal. He offers each camel a gentle pat. He adjusts a loose strap. He makes sure every load is balanced. He has learned that a successful journey depends on careful preparation, long before the first step is taken. Nearby, a traveler from Syria greets a merchant from Babylon. Another man has arrived from Armenia. A family from a small village farther east joins the caravan for part of the journey. Before long, people from many different lands are traveling together. Their languages may be different. Their clothing may differ. Their customs may not always be the same. Yet the road welcomes them all. As the caravan begins to move, the familiar music of camel bells fills the morning air. Clink, clink, clink. The gentle rhythm echoes across the open landscape. The journey has begun. Although Cary has become famous, It has not ended the connection between Rome and Parthia. Trade continues. Diplomats continue their work. Travelers continue crossing the frontier. Sometimes cautiously, sometimes confidently, but always with the understanding that these two great empires are now permanent neighbors. Imagine standing at one of the frontier towns. This is not a place where one civilization suddenly ends and another begins. Instead, it is a place where cultures gently meet. A Roman merchant enters a local market carrying fine glassware. Nearby, a Parthian trader displays beautiful woven carpets. An Armenian craftsman offers finely carved wooden boxes. A Syrian baker fills the air with the warm smell of fresh bread. No one seems surprised by the mixture of languages. It has become part of daily life. A child growing up here might hear 3 or 4 different tongues spoken before lunchtime. To the child, this is perfectly normal. The frontier is not simply a border. It is a meeting place. As the morning grows warmer, imagine walking slowly through the marketplace. Colorful fabrics sway gently in the breeze. Fresh fruit is arranged in neat baskets. Pomegranates, figs, dates, grapes. Nearby, spices fill the air with rich and comforting scents. Cinnamon, cumin, pepper, saffron. A Roman customer pauses to admire an Eastern silk robe. He carefully feels the smooth cloth between his fingers. "It is softer than I imagined," he says quietly. The merchant smiles. He has heard those words many times before. Perhaps in return, the Roman opens a wooden chest filled with finely crafted glass cups from the western provinces. The Parthian merchant lifts one carefully toward the sunlight. The clear glass catches the morning light like water. He nods with quiet appreciation. Trade is not simply the exchange of goods. It is the exchange of admiration. People discover beauty in the work of distant strangers. As the night grows quiet around us, let us pause for a moment beside a peaceful inn where travelers have stopped for the evening. A warm meal is being served. Fresh bread is passed from hand to hand. A pot of fragrant stew simmers gently over the fire. The travelers sit together in relaxed conversation. One speaks of the vineyards of Italy. Another describes the endless plains of Parthia. Someone else tells stories of the mountains of Armenia. No one interrupts. Everyone listens. Travel has taught them something valuable. Every place has its own wonders. One elderly merchant smiles as he watches the younger travelers talking together. He has spent nearly 40 years on these roads. He has seen times of peace. He has seen times of uncertainty. He has crossed deserts beneath blazing summer suns. He has waited out winter storms in mountain villages. Now, as he grows older, he enjoys something even more than successful business. The conversations. He quietly says, "The road teaches patience." The younger travelers nod thoughtfully. Perhaps they do not fully understand his words yet. But after many journeys of their own, they surely will. Meanwhile, back in Rome, life continues with its familiar rhythm. Imagine entering the city just after sunrise. The streets are already busy. Shopkeepers sweep the entrances to their stores. Water flows through public fountains. Children carry baskets for their parents. Bakers remove warm loaves from large stone ovens. Far away in Parthia, another city is waking at almost exactly the same moment. Its streets are different. Its buildings are different. Its language is different. Yet the rhythm feels surprisingly familiar. Mothers prepare breakfast. Craftsmen open their workshops. Merchants unlock wooden doors. Stable hands feed horses before beginning the day's work. Across great distances, ordinary mornings often look remarkably alike. This is something history sometimes forgets to tell us. The famous names appear in books. The kings, the generals, the great victories. But behind every famous event stand millions of ordinary mornings just like these. People simply living, simply working, simply hopping for peaceful days. As the years pass, Rome and Parthia continue watching one another with careful attention. Sometimes new agreements are made. Sometimes old disagreements return. Diplomats travel back and forth carrying carefully written letters. Messengers ride across familiar roads. Small kingdoms between the two great powers continue balancing their relationships with both neighbors. The story remains complicated, yet life remains wonderfully ordinary. Imagine a Roman blacksmith repairing a broken horseshoe. He has heard of Parthia. He has never visited. Still, somewhere beyond the eastern horizon, another blacksmith is repairing a horseshoe in almost exactly the same way. Their languages are different. Their rulers are different. Their techniques may vary slightly. Yet both take pride in doing good work. Both hope their customers return satisfied. Both wish to provide for their families. Across the ancient world, shared human experiences quietly connect people who will never meet. As afternoon becomes evening, children gather once more in village squares. Some play with carved wooden animals. Others throw smooth stones in friendly games. Parents call them home as the first evening stars begin appearing overhead. Cooking fires fill the air with comforting smells. Dogs curl beside doorways. Sheep settle into their pens. The day gently comes to an end. Imagine standing upon a small hill overlooking the frontier, one last time before darkness fully arrives. Far to the west lies Rome. Far to the east lies Parthia. Between them stretch rivers, roads, villages, mountains, markets, and countless lives. History often speaks of borders as lines separating people. Yet many frontiers also become places where ideas, friendships, traditions, and knowledge quietly pass from one world to another. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson these ancient neighbors leave behind. Even while competing, even while disagreeing, even while protecting their own interests, they continued learning from one another. The Roman world admired Eastern silk, fine horses, and skilled archers. The Parthian world appreciated Western craftsmanship, glassmaking, engineering, and trade. Civilizations rarely grow in complete isolation. They shape one another, often without even realizing it. As our own evening grows deeper and more peaceful, let your breathing become slow once again. Imagine the endless road stretching beneath a sky filled with gentle stars. A lone caravan continues its quiet journey toward the horizon. The camel bells ring softly in the cool night air. A rider hums an old family song. The stars guide every traveler, just as they have for countless generations. Our journey through the ancient world is slowly drawing toward its final chapters. In the next chapter, we will leave the great roads behind and step inside the homes of the Parthian people. We will discover their family life, their celebrations, their marriages, the way they raised children, and the quiet traditions that filled everyday life with meaning beneath the wide skies of one of history's most fascinating empires. The road grows quiet behind us. The gentle ringing of camel bells slowly fades into the distance until it becomes only a memory carried by the evening breeze. The stars remain bright above, and somewhere far away, another caravan continues its patient journey across the ancient world. But tonight, we will not follow the merchants. Instead, let us leave the great roads and visit something even more personal. A home. Imagine that you are walking through a peaceful Parthian town just before sunrise. The narrow streets are still quiet. The cool air carries the fresh scent of damp earth after the night's gentle dew. A few lanterns still glow beside doorways, their small flames dancing softly in the early morning breeze. One by one, the houses begin to wake. A wooden door opens. A woman steps into the courtyard, carrying a clay pitcher. She smiles as she greets a neighbor who is doing exactly the same thing. There is no hurry. The day is only just beginning. In the Parthian Empire, family stood at the very center of life. Kings ruled kingdoms. Merchants traveled great distances. Horsemen crossed the open plains. But almost every journey eventually led home. Imagine entering one of these homes. From the outside, it appears simple. Its walls are made from sun-dried mud bricks, thick enough to keep the inside cool during the long summer days. The roof is flat, supported by sturdy wooden beams. Small windows allow fresh air to enter while keeping the harsh midday sun outside. The doorway opens into a peaceful courtyard. This is often the heart of the house. A small tree grows in one corner, offering welcome shade during warm afternoons. Clay pots filled with herbs stand neatly beside the walls. Perhaps there is a simple fountain, where cool water gently trickles into a shallow basin. Birds sometimes visit to drink. Children often gather here to play. Family members meet here throughout the day. Imagine sitting quietly beneath the shade of the tree. The morning sunlight filters gently through the leaves. The house slowly fills with the familiar sounds of another ordinary day. Someone is grinding grain into flour using two smooth stones. Back and forth. Back and forth. The steady rhythm is almost like a quiet song. Nearby, fresh dough is being prepared for bread. The smell is warm and comforting. A grandmother carefully shapes each loaf with experienced hands. She has done this thousands of times. Even without measuring, every loaf comes out almost exactly the same. Her granddaughter watches closely. One day she will learn these same skills. Knowledge often passes quietly from one generation to the next. Not through books, but through watching, helping, practicing. Imagine a young boy sitting beside his grandfather. The older man is repairing a leather saddle. He works slowly, showing the boy each careful stitch. "There is no need to rush," he says softly. "If you take your time, the work will last." The boy nods. He is learning more than leather work. He is learning patience. Lessons like these shape a family just as surely as walls shape a house. As the morning continues, more family members gather for breakfast. The meal is simple. Fresh bread still warm from the oven. Goat's cheese, dates, olives, perhaps a little honey if the family has been fortunate. Clay cups are filled with fresh milk or cool water. Everyone eats together. Conversation is gentle. Someone asks about today's work. Another wonders whether visitors might arrive before evening. The youngest children mostly listen. The older ones sometimes ask curious questions. The adults answer with quiet smiles. Meals are not only about food. They are also moments of togetherness. As the night grows quieter around us, let us remember that families in the Parthian Empire came in many forms. Some were small. Others were quite large. Grandparents often lived close to their children and grandchildren. Aunts, uncles, cousins. Many generations remained connected. The oldest family members were often deeply respected. Their memories carried the stories of earlier times. Imagine an elderly grandmother sitting beneath the evening sky. Several children gather around her. They have heard many of her stories before. Still, they ask for them again. She smiles, then begins. She tells of long-ago harvests, of journeys across distant mountains, of a famous horse that once carried her father through a terrible storm. Whether every detail is perfectly true hardly matters. The stories carry wisdom. They teach courage, kindness, patience, respect. The children listen with wide eyes. Long before books were common, stories helped preserve the memory of families. As afternoon sunlight fills the courtyard, the younger children invent games together. One little girl arranges smooth stones into careful patterns. Her younger brother follows a friendly kitten around the garden. Two cousins race from one side of the courtyard to the other before collapsing into laughter. Their parents smile as they continue working. Children sound much the same in every century. Their laughter changes very little. Imagine a father returning home after spending several days traveling with a caravan. His horse walks slowly through the village. Dust covers his boots. The journey has been long. Before he even reaches the gate, the children recognize him. They run toward him with delighted smiles. He kneels to embrace them. For a little while, nothing else matters. Not business, not trade, simply being home. His wife welcomes him warmly. Together they carry his travel bags inside. Later, during the evening meal, he shares stories from the road. He speaks of distant cities, new friends, beautiful mountains, busy markets. The children listen with complete fascination. To them, these places seem almost magical. Perhaps one day they too will travel those roads. Or perhaps they will remain in the village their entire lives. Either path is honorable, as long as they care for their family well. Family celebrations are especially joyful. Imagine a wedding taking place in the village. Neighbors begin preparing several days before the ceremony. Fresh bread is baked. Colorful clothing is carefully washed and mended. The courtyard is decorated with flowers and woven fabrics. Guests begin arriving from neighboring towns. Some have traveled many miles to attend. Old friends greet one another with warm embraces. Children quickly find new playmates. Musicians tune their instruments beneath the shade of a tree. The celebration begins slowly. No one seems eager for it to end. Music fills the air. Gentle drums keep a steady rhythm. Flutes play cheerful melodies. Families share generous meals together. There is laughter, conversation, storytelling, dancing. The wedding is not only the joining of two people. It is the joining of two families. The entire community shares in the happiness. When a new baby is born, another celebration quietly unfolds. Neighbors visit the family carrying small gifts. Fresh bread, fruit, soft blankets, helpful hands. Older women often offer advice to the new parents. Young fathers receive gentle encouragement from older men who remember their own first days of parenthood. No family stands completely alone. Communities grow stronger by helping one another. As evening gently approaches, work slowly comes to an end. The tools are cleaned and stored. Animals are fed. The courtyard becomes peaceful once again. Tonight's meal is shared beneath the cooling sky. Oil lamps cast a warm glow across the walls. A soft breeze carries the scent of herbs growing nearby. Someone begins quietly playing a reed flute. The melody is slow, comforting, almost like a lullaby. Imagine looking around the courtyard. 3 generations sit together. Grandparents, parents, children. Each generation sees the world a little differently. Yet all belong to the same family. The oldest remember years long past. The youngest dream about years yet to come. The middle generation quietly carries responsibilities from both directions. There is something timeless about this scene. Across thousands of years, families have gathered in much the same way. Different clothing, different language, different homes, yet the feelings remain familiar. Love, responsibility, hope, belonging. As darkness settles over the village, the youngest children begin growing sleepy. Parents gently carry them inside. Blankets are spread across simple beds. Quiet goodnights are whispered. Outside, the older family members remain beneath the stars a little longer. The conversation slows. Silence becomes comfortable. Someone watches the moon rising above the rooftops. Someone else quietly thanks the heavens for another peaceful day. The village itself grows wonderfully still. A dog curls beside the doorway. A horse shifts gently in its stable. The wind rustles through the leaves of the courtyard tree. Everything feels calm, safe, at home. Perhaps this is the greatest treasure of all. Not wealth, not power, not famous victories, but a place where loved ones gather at the end of the day, where stories are shared, meals are enjoyed together, children are raised with kindness, and every sunrise begins with familiar faces. As our own evening grows deeper, let your thoughts settle as peacefully as this quiet household. Picture the warm glow of oil lamps. Hear the gentle laughter fading into the night. Feel the cool breeze moving softly through the courtyard, beneath a sky filled with ancient stars. Our journey through the Parthian Empire continues. In the next chapter, we will gently explore the beliefs, temples, sacred fires, and spiritual traditions of the Parthian people, discovering how faith quietly shaped everyday life without ever losing sight of the ordinary moments that brought families and communities together. The village has fallen asleep. The laughter of children has faded into peaceful dreams. The warm glow of the family courtyard grows softer as the last oil lamps are gently covered for the night. Only the quiet sounds of nature remain. A breeze moves through the trees. A horse shifts gently inside its stable. Somewhere far away, a night bird calls into the darkness. Above everything, the stars stretch across the sky like tiny lamps that have watched over the earth for thousands of years. Tonight, let us take a slow walk into another peaceful part of life in the Parthian Empire. Not the markets, not the royal courts, not the battlefields. Instead, let us explore the quiet world of faith. Imagine waking before sunrise. The eastern horizon is only beginning to glow with pale shades of blue and gold. The air is cool, and the village remains almost completely silent. An elderly man steps outside his home. He pauses for a moment. He looks toward the brightening sky. He closes his eyes. No one is watching him. There is no audience, no ceremony, only a quiet moment of gratitude before another day begins. For many people in the Parthian Empire, faith was woven gently into everyday life. It was not always something reserved for special festivals or grand temples. It lived in ordinary mornings, in family meals, in harvests, in journeys, in the quiet hope that tomorrow would be peaceful. The Parthian Empire was home to many different peoples. Because of this, it was also home to many different beliefs. Some families followed the ancient traditions that had existed in Persia for centuries. Others worshipped local gods who had been honored in their own regions for generations. Greek communities continued many of their own customs. In large cities, travelers from distant lands sometimes brought entirely new ideas with them. This mixture of traditions became one of the empire's quiet strengths. People often lived beside neighbors who believed differently from themselves. Yet they still traded together, worked together, shared meals together, raised families together. Imagine walking through a busy Parthian city. As you wander slowly along its streets, you notice something interesting. A merchant quietly whispers a prayer before opening his shop. A traveler touches a small charm hanging from his neck before beginning a long journey. Nearby, another family follows a different custom entirely. No one seems surprised. The city has room for many traditions. Now let us gently visit one of the most respected beliefs within the Parthian world. The ancient religion that we now call Zoroastrianism had deep roots in the lands of Persia long before the Parthians came to power. Although not every person in the empire followed it, its ideas influenced many parts of Parthian life. Imagine approaching a peaceful temple at sunrise. The building is simple yet beautiful. Its walls are carefully built from pale stone. The doorway stands open. There are no loud voices, no crowded marketplace nearby, only quiet footsteps upon smooth ground. Inside burns something remarkable, a sacred fire. The flame rises gently from a carefully prepared hearth. It is steady, bright, calm. Its warm light fills the room with a peaceful golden glow. To many believers, this fire is not worshipped as a god itself. Instead, it represents purity, truth, light, the victory of goodness over darkness. Imagine standing quietly before the flame. You hear nothing except its soft crackling. The room smells faintly of clean wood and fragrant herbs. A priest carefully tends the fire. His movements are slow and respectful. He adds fresh wood. He watches the flame closely. It has been kept burning with great care, generation after generation. There is something deeply comforting about a flame that has never been allowed to fade. As the night grows quieter around us, let us remember that fire has always held a special place in many cultures. It gives warmth during winter, light during darkness, comfort during uncertain times. For the people of ancient Persia, these simple qualities also carried deep spiritual meaning. Imagine a young child entering the temple for the first time. She holds tightly to her mother's hand. Her eyes grow wide as she watches the glowing fire. She asks softly, "Will it always burn?" Her mother smiles. As long as people continue caring for it. It is a simple answer. Yet perhaps it also teaches something larger. Good things often continue only when people care for them. Kindness, wisdom, peace. Like a sacred flame, they require gentle attention. The priests who served these temples lived quiet lives. Imagine one beginning his morning. Before sunrise, he carefully cleans the temple. Every surface is swept. Fresh wood is prepared. Clean water is brought inside. His work is peaceful. There is no rush. Every task is performed with care. Visitors sometimes arrive seeking guidance, not because they expect miracles, but because they hope for wise advice. The priest listens patiently. Sometimes people simply need someone willing to listen. That has always been true. Imagine a farmer visiting the temple before the planting season begins. He quietly offers thanks for the harvest of the previous year. He hopes for enough rain, healthy crops, strong animals. He understands that much of life remains beyond human control. Faith offers comfort during uncertainty. Nearby, a mother quietly whispers hopes for the health of her children. An elderly traveler gives thanks after safely completing another long journey. A young couple beginning married life offers gratitude for their future together. These are ordinary hopes, yet perhaps they are the hopes that matter most. Not every act of worship takes place inside a temple. Imagine a shepherd standing alone upon a hillside at sunset. His sheep graze peacefully nearby. The sky glows with warm shades of orange and pink. He quietly offers a few words of thanks before leading his flock home. The entire hillside becomes his place of prayer. Nature itself often inspires reflection. Across the empire, mountains, rivers, trees, and wide open plains remind people of the beauty of the world around them. Many believe that caring for creation is itself an act of respect. Clean water should remain clean. The land should not be harmed without reason. Animals deserve proper care. These ideas quietly influence everyday behavior. Children learn them from an early age, not through long lessons, but through example. Imagine a grandfather teaching his grandson never to waste fresh water. The boy asks why. His grandfather simply replies, "Because every gift should be treated with respect." The lesson stays with the child long after the conversation ends. As afternoon slowly becomes evening, let us visit one of the great religious festivals. Families have gathered from nearby villages. Fresh flowers decorate the entrances to homes. Long tables are filled with bread, fruit, nuts, herbs, and sweet cakes. Children wear their finest clothes. Neighbors greet one another warmly. There is music, gentle conversation, shared meals, laughter. Faith and celebration often walk together. For many people, thanking the heavens also means celebrating life itself. The changing seasons become important moments for reflection. The arrival of spring brings hope. The harvest brings gratitude. Winter invites patience. Every season carries its own quiet lessons. Imagine the celebration of Nowruz, the Persian New Year. The first day of spring has arrived. The air feels fresh. The fields begin turning green once more. Families carefully clean their homes before the festival. Old dust is swept away. Fresh flowers are placed in clay jars. Tables are decorated beautifully. Children wake early with excited smiles. Neighbors exchange gifts. Friends visit one another throughout the day. The festival reminds everyone that every ending is also the beginning of something new. New seasons, new hopes, new opportunities. As evening falls, families gather beneath the stars. The youngest children listen, while grandparents tell ancient stories. Music drifts softly through the cool air. Oil lamps glow warmly beside every doorway. The village seems wrapped in quiet happiness. These simple celebrations strengthen communities. They remind people that no one walks through life entirely alone. As darkness deepens around us, let us pause beside the sacred fire one final time. The flame continues burning gently. Its light reflects upon the smooth stone walls. Outside, the stars shine across the endless sky. Inside, the fire glows with quiet steadiness. Both have watched countless generations come and go. Kings have risen. Empires have changed. Roads have been built. Cities have grown. Yet simple acts of faith have continued. A whispered prayer, a grateful heart, a shared meal, a helping hand. Perhaps these are the moments that endure longest. As our own peaceful journey continues, allow the warm image of the sacred fire to remain gently in your thoughts. Picture its calm golden light. Hear only its soft crackling in the stillness of the night. Feel the quiet comfort that comes from places where people have gathered for centuries, seeking hope, wisdom, and peace. In our next chapter, we will leave the temples behind and step into the lively workshops and marketplaces of the Parthian Empire. Together, we will discover the skilled artisans, potters, metalworkers, weavers and traders whose patient hands helped build one of the most prosperous civilizations of the ancient world, one careful piece of work at a time. The sacred fire continues to glow behind us. Its warm golden light slowly fades into the distance as we step back onto the quiet streets of a Parthian town. The night has passed gently, and another peaceful morning is beginning. A pale ribbon of sunlight stretches across the rooftops, and the cool air carries the pleasant smell of fresh earth after the night's dew. The town is waking. A rooster calls from somewhere beyond the houses. A donkey quietly pulls a small cart toward the market square. A woman opens the wooden shutters of her home, allowing the first rays of sunlight to brighten the courtyard. The day begins not with noise, but with gentle purpose. Today, let us spend our time among the people whose names history rarely remembers. The craftsmen, the artists, the potters, the weavers, the blacksmiths, the jewel makers, the woodworkers, the merchants who filled the markets with goods from every direction of the ancient world. Imagine walking beside a narrow stone street as the shops slowly open one after another. Each doorway reveals a different skill. Each workshop tells a different story. The town itself seems to breathe as another working day begins. Our first stop is the workshop of a potter. The room is cool and shaded. Clay jars line the shelves from floor to ceiling. Some are large enough to store grain for an entire family. Others are no bigger than a child's hands. Everyone has been shaped with patience. The potter smiles as he greets the morning. He kneels beside a mound of soft clay. For a few quiet moments, he simply presses it between his hands. He is feeling its texture. Too dry and it will crack. Too wet and it will lose its shape. Years of experience have taught him exactly when the clay is ready. Imagine watching as he places the clay upon a simple wheel. With one gentle push, the wheel begins to turn. Round and round. His hands remain perfectly steady. Slowly, almost magically, the lump of clay begins to rise. First a bowl, then perhaps a graceful vase, or a water jug that will serve a family for many years. There is no hurry. Every movement is calm. Every touch is careful. The wheel spins with a quiet rhythm that feels almost like breathing. Nearby, a young apprentice watches every movement. He does not interrupt. He simply observes. One day, his own hands will know these same motions. The knowledge is passed not through long written lessons, but through patient practice. Imagine the smell of damp clay filling the workshop. Sunlight falls through a small window, illuminating tiny dust particles floating gently through the air. Outside, the sounds of the marketplace slowly grow louder. Inside, the potter continues his peaceful work. As the morning grows warmer, let us continue our walk. Not far away, we hear the gentle tapping of metal. A blacksmith has already begun his day. His workshop feels very different. The air is warmer here. The forge glows with a deep orange light. The fire crackles softly. Yet even here, the work is not frantic. The blacksmith heats a piece of iron until it glows. Then he lifts it carefully onto a smooth stone surface. Tap, tap, tap. His hammer rises and falls with steady confidence. Each strike has a purpose. He is making a horseshoe. A simple object. Yet somewhere, perhaps tomorrow, a merchant's horse will wear it while crossing hundreds of miles of open country. Small acts of craftsmanship quietly support great journeys. Nearby lie other finished tools. Strong farming plows, kitchen knives, door hinges, cooking pots, simple objects that make everyday life easier. History often celebrates kings, but civilizations are built just as surely by anonymous craftsmen working patiently beside warm fires. Imagine speaking with the blacksmith. You ask him how long it takes to master his work. He smiles kindly. A lifetime, he answers. Then he laughs softly. And even then, you are still learning. His words carry quiet wisdom. Many of life's greatest skills are never fully finished. As the night grows quieter around us, let us step into another workshop. This one belongs to a weaver. The room is peaceful. Large wooden looms stand beside the walls. Bright threads of red, blue, green, gold, and deep brown hang neatly from wooden pegs. The colors glow warmly in the morning sunlight. A woman sits quietly before the loom. Her fingers move almost without thought. Over, under, pull gently, tighten carefully. Again, again, again. The pattern slowly grows. One thread alone seems almost meaningless. Yet thousands together create something beautiful. Imagine the patience this requires. Days, sometimes weeks, perhaps even months. One carpet may tell the story of an entire season's work. Children often learn weaving beside their mothers and grandmothers. At first, they simply wind thread into neat bundles. Later, they learn simple patterns. Eventually, they create designs of their own. Each generation quietly adds its own small part to an ancient tradition. Nearby, another artisan works with fine gold and silver. His workshop is much smaller. The windows are carefully covered to keep dust away from delicate work. Tiny tools rest neatly upon a wooden table. A small lamp provides steady light. He holds a delicate bracelet between his fingers. Every tiny detail has been shaped by hand. No machine exists to help him. Only patience, steady hands, good eyesight, years of practice. Imagine the bracelet eventually becoming a wedding gift. A mother gives it to her daughter. The daughter treasures it throughout her life. Many years later, she passes it to her own child. The work of one quiet craftsman becomes part of several generations of family memories. Now let us leave the workshops and enter the market itself. The square is alive with gentle activity. Not noisy, simply busy. Rows of wooden stalls fill the open space. Colorful fabrics flutter in the breeze. Clay jars stand in neat rows. Fresh fruit catches the sunlight. The smell of warm bread drifts from a nearby bakery. A spice merchant lifts the lid from a wooden box. The rich scent of cinnamon fills the air. Another box reveals pepper. Another saffron. Another fragrant cumin. Travelers pause, smiling as the wonderful aromas surround them. Nearby, a merchant from India carefully unfolds fine cotton cloth. A trader from the West displays delicate Roman glass. Another offers pearls gathered from distant waters. The marketplace feels like the entire world gathered in one peaceful square. Imagine simply sitting quietly beneath a shaded awning. You need buy nothing. You simply watch. Children carry baskets for their parents. Neighbors greet one another warmly. Old friends stop to exchange news. Travelers ask for directions. A musician quietly plays a reed flute while waiting for customers. A little girl laughs as she watches a friendly monkey brought by an entertainer from a distant land. Life flows gently around you. The market is more than a place of buying and selling. It is where people meet, where news spreads, where friendships begin, where strangers slowly become familiar faces. A merchant notices a young apprentice struggling to count coins correctly. Instead of scolding him, he gently explains the numbers once again. The boy thanks him. Tomorrow he will remember. Knowledge grows one patient lesson at a time. As afternoon sunlight becomes softer, business gradually slows. The busiest hours have passed. Merchants begin packing away their finest goods. Unsold fruit is carefully gathered into baskets. The baker offers the last warm loaves at a lower price, so nothing will be wasted. The potter covers his fresh clay, so it will remain soft until morning. The blacksmith sweeps the floor of his workshop. The weaver gently folds unfinished cloth before leaving the loom. Every craft pauses. Tomorrow it will begin again. Imagine one elderly merchant closing his wooden shutters. He has worked in this same market for nearly 50 years. He knows almost every family in town. He has watched children become parents. Apprentices become masters. Visitors become lifelong friends. As he locks the door, he smiles quietly. Not because he has become rich, but because he has spent a lifetime doing honest work that served his community. There is deep satisfaction in that. The evening breeze begins to cool the streets. Families slowly make their way home carrying bread, vegetables, cloth, pottery, and other simple necessities. The market grows quieter. The pigeons return to the rooftops. Cats wander between the empty stall, searching for forgotten crumbs. The town exhales after another peaceful day. Above, the first evening stars begin appearing one by one. The same stars shine above every workshop, every market, every quiet home. As our own journey through the Parthian Empire continues, let your breathing become slow and steady once again. Picture the potter's wheel turning gently. Hear the soft tapping of the blacksmith's hammer. See colorful threads passing through the loom. Smell the warm bread cooling beside the baker's oven. These quiet sounds, sights, and simple moments form the true heartbeat of the empire. Not only its kings, not only its armies, but the patient hands of ordinary people creating beauty and usefulness every single day. In our next chapter, we will leave the busy towns behind and journey into the countryside. There, beneath wide blue skies, we will discover the farms, vineyards, orchards, shepherds, and harvests that fed the Parthian Empire and shaped the peaceful rhythm of life across its rolling plains and fertile valleys. The marketplace slowly falls silent behind us. The wooden stalls have been closed for the evening. The last merchant has gathered his goods, the baker has swept the flour from his doorway, and the blacksmith's fire has faded into glowing red embers. The sounds of the town become softer with every step we take. Soon the stone streets become simple dirt paths. The houses grow farther apart. The air feels fresher. The wide countryside opens before us. Imagine taking a slow walk just before sunrise. The eastern sky is painted with soft shades of pale blue, pink, and gold. A cool breeze moves gently across endless fields. Tiny drops of dew rest upon blades of grass, sparkling like countless tiny jewels in the first light of morning. The world is wonderfully quiet. Somewhere nearby, a rooster announces the arrival of another day. A gentle cow softly calls from a nearby pasture. Birds begin their cheerful morning song from the branches of fruit trees. The countryside is waking. For much of the Parthian Empire, this peaceful landscape was home. While cities attracted merchants and travelers, most people lived much closer to the land. Their lives followed the rhythm of the seasons. Not the rhythm of clocks, not the rhythm of busy marketplaces, but the quiet rhythm of sunrise and sunset, of planting and harvesting, of rain and dry weather. Imagine approaching a small farmhouse. It is built from the same sturdy mud bricks that we have seen before, with a flat roof and a shaded courtyard. A few chickens wander freely near the doorway. Clay jars stand neatly against the wall, storing grain from the previous harvest. A thin trail of smoke rises gently from the kitchen. Breakfast is already being prepared. Inside, the family is awake long before the sun has fully risen. The father quietly sharpens a farming tool. His daughter fills a basket with fresh bread. His son carries buckets of water toward the animals. The mother prepares a simple meal before everyone begins the day's work. No one rushes. The fields have waited patiently through the night. They will wait a few moments longer. Imagine sitting beside the family as they share breakfast. Fresh bread, goat's cheese, dates, perhaps a handful of figs gathered the day before. Cool water from a nearby well. The meal is simple, yet it is shared with quiet gratitude. Everyone understands that today's work depends upon yesterday's harvest. The land has cared for them. Now they will care for the land. As the first golden sunlight spreads across the fields, everyone walks together toward their work. The paths are familiar. The children know every stone, every tree, every little stream. This landscape has become part of their memory. Imagine standing at the edge of a wheat field. A gentle breeze moves across the tall stalks, creating slow waves that ripple like the surface of a calm sea. The sound is soft, almost like whispering. The farmer pauses for a moment. He studies the sky. He notices the direction of the wind. He looks carefully at the color of the growing grain. Years of experience have taught him to read these quiet signs. Nature is always speaking. One simply has to learn how to listen. As the night grows quieter around us, let us remember that farming in the ancient world required enormous patience. Seeds planted today might not become food for many months. Every season demanded hope. Rain could not be commanded. The sun could not be hurried. The farmer learned to work steadily, while accepting that some things remained beyond human control. Perhaps this is one reason farming teaches humility. Imagine a young boy asking his grandfather, "When will the wheat be ready?" The old man smiles kindly. "When it is ready." The answer seems almost too simple, but wisdom often is. Some things cannot be rushed. Not growing children, not changing seasons, not healthy friendships, not fields of grain. Nearby, another family tends a vineyard. Long rows of grapevines stretch gently across the hillside. The vines have been carefully pruned throughout the year. Now small clusters of grapes hang beneath broad green leaves. The morning sun warms the fruit. A woman gently examines one bunch after another. Only the healthiest grapes will be gathered. Every harvest reflects months of quiet care. Imagine tasting one ripe grape. It is cool, sweet, full of the warmth of the summer sun. Later, some grapes will be eaten fresh. Others will be dried into raisins. Many will become wine stored carefully inside large clay jars. Nothing is wasted if it can be used wisely. Not far away lies an orchard. Pomegranate trees spread their branches beneath the clear blue sky. Fig trees provide welcome shade. Date palms stand tall against the horizon. Children happily help gather the fruit. Some climb carefully into the lower branches. Others collect fallen fruit into woven baskets. Their laughter fills the orchard. Work and play often mix naturally. Imagine one little girl proudly carrying her first full basket. It is almost too heavy for her. Her grandfather quietly takes one side while allowing her to believe she is carrying it herself. She smiles with satisfaction. He smiles too. Sometimes encouragement is the greatest gift an elder can offer. As the morning becomes warmer, let us continue toward the grazing fields. A shepherd slowly leads his flock across rolling hills. The sheep move peacefully together. A loyal dog quietly circles the edges of the flock, gently guiding any curious animals back toward the group. The shepherd carries only a simple wooden staff. He knows every sheep. He notices immediately if one is missing. Years of careful attention have made observation almost effortless. Imagine walking beside him. He tells you that every season follows familiar patterns. Spring brings new lambs. Summer offers long grazing days. Autumn prepares the flock for cooler weather. Winter demands greater care. Each season brings different work. Each has its own quiet beauty. As afternoon sunlight gently fills the valley, another farmer guides two sturdy oxen across a freshly prepared field. The wooden plow moves slowly through the rich earth. The soil turns over in long, even lines. The work is steady, patient. The oxen know their task. The farmer knows his. There is no competition, no hurry, only quiet cooperation between human, animal, and land. Nearby, women gather herbs growing beside a small stream. Mint, parsley, wild onions. Fragrant flowers bloom along the water's edge. A few children skip smooth stones across the quiet stream while waiting for their mothers. Dragonflies hover above the water. Small fish dart beneath the surface. Nature feels peaceful, complete. Imagine stopping beside a cool well in the middle of the afternoon. Travelers pause here to rest. The water bucket rises slowly from deep below. Cold, clear, refreshing. Everyone shares it politely. Water is precious. No one wastes it. A merchant passing through the countryside thanks the farmer for his kindness. The farmer simply smiles. Helping travelers has become an ordinary part of life. One never knows when the kindness will be returned. As the afternoon slowly begins to fade, the work also begins drawing to a close. The baskets are filled. The animals are counted. The tools are cleaned carefully before being stored beneath shelter. Children gather fallen branches for the evening fire. The family begins the familiar walk home. The setting sun paints the fields with warm shades of gold and amber. Long shadows stretch gently across the land. Birds return to their nests. The countryside seems to sigh peacefully after another productive day. Imagine standing upon a small hill overlooking the valley. Smoke rises gently from distant farmhouses. Dogs bark softly in the distance. The smell of fresh bread drifts through the cooling air. Families gather once again beneath their rooftops. Another ordinary day has quietly become another treasured memory. As evening deepens, grandparents begin telling stories beside the fire. Children slowly grow sleepy after their day's adventures. Outside, the stars appear one by one above the peaceful fields. The wheat gently sways beneath the moonlight. The sheep sleep quietly in their pens. The horses rest peacefully after carrying wagons and riders throughout the day. Everything feels calm. Everything feels exactly as it should. Perhaps this was the greatest wealth many farming families ever knew. Not great treasure, not famous victories, but healthy fields, a safe home, enough food to share, children growing strong, neighbors willing to help one another. These simple blessings have always been among humanity's greatest riches. As our own journey through the Parthian countryside slowly comes to an end, let your breathing become gentle once more. Picture the endless wheat fields glowing beneath the moon. Hear the soft sound of the evening breeze moving through the grain. Feel the cool night air settling over orchards, vineyards, and quiet farmhouses. The countryside sleeps peacefully beneath the same ancient stars that watched over every traveler, every shepherd, every farmer, and every family of the Parthian Empire. In our next chapter, we will return to the royal world one final time. Together, we will quietly explore the later years of the Parthian Empire, its remarkable legacy, and how its influence continued long after its kings and palaces had become part of history, leaving behind traditions that would shape the civilizations that followed. The countryside rests quietly beneath the stars. The wheat fields sway gently in the cool night breeze. Farmhouses are dark now, their families asleep after another day of honest work. A shepherd's dog lifts its head for a moment before settling back into peaceful sleep. Somewhere in the distance, a horse softly stamps its hoof against the earth. Everything feels calm. Everything feels timeless. Tonight, our journey carries us back toward the royal cities of the Parthian Empire. Not during the excitement of a festival. Not during the arrival of a great caravan. Instead, we arrive during the quiet evening of a long and remarkable story. Every empire, no matter how powerful, changes with time. Just as every season gives way to the next. Just as every sunrise eventually becomes sunset. The Parthian Empire was no different. Imagine standing upon the walls of the great city of Ctesiphon as the sun slowly disappears beyond the western horizon. The sky glows with warm shades of orange, gold, and deep purple. The broad Tigris River reflects the evening light like polished bronze. Boats drift quietly along the water. Smoke rises gently from thousands of homes preparing the evening meal. The city is alive. Yet there is also a feeling that time continues moving forward, as it always does. The Parthian kings had ruled for nearly 500 years. Generation after generation. Father after son. Brother after brother. Each ruler inherited a kingdom shaped by those who came before. Some kings ruled wisely and peacefully. Others faced difficult challenges. Some expanded the empire. Others worked simply to protect what already existed. History remembers them differently. Yet every one of them eventually passed the crown to another. That is the quiet rhythm of history. No ruler remains forever. Imagine a young prince walking through the palace gardens beside an elderly advisor. The old man has served 3 different kings. His hair has turned silver. His steps are slower now. The prince asks him, "What is the secret to ruling well?" The advisor smiles gently. After a long silence, he replies, "Remember that the kingdom does not belong to you alone. It belongs to every farmer, every merchant, every child, every traveler. The king simply cares for it for a little while." The prince walks quietly beside him. Those simple words stay in his memory. Perhaps they shape the way he will one day rule. As the years pass, however, the Parthian kings begin facing new difficulties. Some challenges come from outside the empire. Others begin within. Large kingdoms are complicated. Different noble families sometimes disagree. Local rulers occasionally seek greater independence. Choosing the next king is not always simple. Unlike some kingdoms where the oldest son automatically inherits the throne, the Parthian succession could become uncertain. Powerful noble families often played an important role. Imagine a gathering of respected nobles inside a great hall. Oil lamps cast soft light across polished wooden tables. Maps lie rolled beside clay cups filled with cool water. The discussion is serious, respectful. Everyone wishes for stability. Yet each family has its own hopes for the future. No voices are raised. No one rushes to a decision. Still, reaching agreement is not always easy. History often grows complicated not because people desire conflict, but because they sincerely believe different paths are best. Meanwhile, beyond the eastern mountains, new peoples continue moving across Central Asia. Along the western frontier, Rome remains a powerful neighbor. Trade continues. Diplomacy continues. Sometimes peace lasts for many years. Sometimes disagreements return. The frontier remains a place of both connection and caution. Imagine an elderly merchant who has spent his entire life traveling between Rome and Parthia. His beard has grown white. His steps are slower than they once were. Yet he still smiles whenever he hears the familiar bells of a departing caravan. He has watched children become parents. Young kings become old rulers. Villages grow into towns. He quietly tells a young apprentice, "Nothing stays exactly the same." But that does not mean everything is lost. The apprentice thinks carefully about those words. Only many years later will he fully understand them. As the night grows quieter around us, let us travel a little farther into the 3rd century after the birth of Christ. Far to the south, another Persian family is quietly becoming stronger. This family belongs to a ruler named Ardashir. He comes from the region known as Persis, the ancient homeland of many Persian traditions. Patiently, carefully, over many years, he gathers support. He builds alliances. He strengthens his position. Like many great changes in history, this transformation happens gradually rather than all at once. Imagine Ardashir standing upon a hillside at sunrise. He looks across the land that his ancestors once called home. He dreams not only of ruling a province. He dreams of restoring a great Persian kingdom. His vision slowly gathers followers. Many people believe that a new chapter is beginning. Others remain loyal to the Parthian kings who have ruled for generations. History rarely offers simple choices. Eventually, these two paths meet. The last great Parthian king, Artabanus IV, faces Ardashir in a struggle that will decide the future of the empire. After years of change and growing challenges, the Parthian dynasty comes to an end around the year 224. A new Persian empire begins. Today, we know it as the Sasanian Empire. Imagine the morning after this great change. Does every village suddenly look different? No. The farmers still walk into their fields. The shepherd still leads his flock across the hills. The potter still shapes clay upon his wheel. The baker still rises before dawn. Children still laugh in the courtyards. History often marks dramatic dates. Life itself usually changes much more gently. Many traditions continue. Many families remain where they have always lived. Many roads remain busy. The names of kings may change, but ordinary life carries on. The Sasanian rulers inherit much from the Parthians. Roads, cities, trade routes, experienced craftsmen, ancient traditions, knowledge passed carefully through generations. Even when one empire ends, it quietly hands many gifts to the civilization that follows. Imagine a master builder teaching his young apprentice. The older man says, "My own teacher learned these skills from his father, and his father learned from another before him." The apprentice realizes something important. Knowledge does not disappear when rulers change. It continues through people, through families, through patient teaching. As evening approaches once more, let us think about the true legacy of the Parthian Empire. It was never only about kings, or famous battles, or grand palaces. Its greatest achievement lived in quieter places, in the great trade routes that connected east and west, in the remarkable horsemen who mastered the open plains, in the markets where strangers became trading partners, in the workshops where skilled hands created beautiful things, in the farms that fed millions. and the families who gathered every evening beneath peaceful skies. These are the foundations upon which civilizations quietly stand. Imagine walking one last time through a peaceful Parthian village. The sun has nearly set. Children wave as they run home for supper. A potter closes the door of his workshop. A shepherd counts his sheep. The smell of warm bread fills the evening air. Oil lamps begin glowing softly behind open windows. No one knows that future historians will call this the end of an empire. To them, it is simply another beautiful evening. Perhaps that is exactly as history should be remembered, not only through its great turning points, but through its countless ordinary days. As darkness gently settles over the ancient world, the stars appear exactly as they have throughout our journey. They shone above the first Parthian kings, above the merchants crossing deserts, above Roman ambassadors, above sacred fires, above busy markets, above quiet farms, above sleeping children. They remain unchanged, watching silently as generations come and go. Our long walk through the Parthian Empire is almost complete. Only one final chapter remains. There we will not speak of kings or battles. Instead, we will simply reflect upon the gentle lessons this remarkable civilization leaves behind. Lessons about patience, curiosity, family, craftsmanship, peaceful travel, and the quiet beauty of everyday life that continues across every century. So, as the stars grow brighter above the resting empire, let your own thoughts become light and peaceful. Take one slow breath. Listen to the gentle wind, and follow it with me into the final chapter of our journey, where history slowly fades into restful reflection beneath the endless night sky. The night is quiet now, very quiet. The roads we have traveled together are empty beneath the stars. The marketplaces have closed their wooden shutters. The last campfire has settled into glowing embers. The horses rest peacefully inside their stables, and the camels kneel comfortably beside sleeping caravans. The ancient world has become wonderfully still. Our long journey is nearly over. So tonight, let us not hurry anywhere. Instead, let us take one final slow walk through the Parthian Empire, remembering the peaceful places we have visited together. Imagine standing once again upon a gentle hill. The moon hangs high above the wide plains. Its silver light stretches across rivers, deserts, villages, mountains, and distant cities. Everything we have explored lies quietly beneath the same peaceful sky. Far away, a shepherd sleeps after a long day with his flock. A potter dreams beside shelves filled with cooling clay. A merchant rests before another journey at sunrise. A child sleeps peacefully beneath a woven blanket, while grandparents quietly whisper old family stories beside a fatting lamp. These ordinary lives are the true heart of history. History books often tell us the names of kings. They remember famous battles. They record important dates. But when we slow down enough to truly listen, we discover another history. A quieter history. A gentler history. The history of everyday people. Imagine returning to the first village we visited many hours ago. The familiar courtyard is peaceful. The small tree still offers shade. The clay water jars stand neatly beside the wall. The grandmother who baked bread every morning has finished her work. The children who laughed in the courtyard have grown sleepy. The family gathers one last time beneath the evening sky. Someone quietly thanks the heavens for another ordinary day. There is something deeply comforting about ordinary days. They rarely appear in history books, yet they make up almost every human life. Think about the farmer we met in the wide wheat fields. Every morning, he watched the sky before beginning his work. He could not command the rain. He could not hurry the harvest. He simply worked with patience, season after season. Perhaps there is wisdom in that. Many good things cannot be rushed. Friendship, learning, healing, growing. Like wheat, they need time. Now let us visit the marketplace one final time. Although it sleeps tonight, we can still imagine its lively mornings. The baker placing warm bread upon wooden shelves. The spice merchant opening fragrant jars. The blacksmith patiently shaping iron. The weaver passing colorful threads through her loom. Every craft required careful hands. No masterpiece appeared in a single afternoon. Beauty grew one patient step at a time. Perhaps our own lives are built in much the same way. Not through one great moment, but through many small acts repeated with care. Imagine walking once more beside the great caravan road. The moonlight shines softly upon the dusty path. No travelers pass tonight, yet tomorrow they will return. Merchants, messengers, pilgrims, families, each carrying hopes, questions, dreams. The road never truly ends. One traveler reaches home. Another begins a new journey. So it has always been. So it always will be. Far away, the sacred fire still burns quietly inside its temple. Its warm light has continued through generations because someone cared for it every single day. One person added fresh wood. Another cleaned the hearth. Another protected the flame during difficult weather. Small acts of care allowed something beautiful to continue. The same is true of kindness, of wisdom, of love. They survive because ordinary people quietly pass them from one generation to the next. Imagine the horses sleeping peacefully beneath the stars. They carried merchants across deserts. They carried shepherds through open valleys. They carried messengers between distant cities. Their faithful work connected an entire empire. Now they rest. Tomorrow they will walk again. There is comfort in honest work followed by peaceful rest. The Parthian people understood this rhythm well. Work when it is time to work. Rest when it is time to rest. Listen when it is time to listen. Speak gently when words are needed. Allow silence when silence is enough. As the night grows even deeper around us, let us think about something remarkable. The Parthian Empire disappeared nearly 18 centuries ago. Its kings no longer rule. Its palaces have become ancient ruins. Many of its cities changed with the passing centuries. And yet, its story still reaches us. Not because stone buildings lasted forever, but because people remembered. Parents told stories to children. Teachers shared knowledge with students. Writers carefully preserved old histories. Archaeologists patiently uncovered forgotten places beneath the earth. Generation after generation quietly carried the memory forward. Imagine an archaeologist, many centuries later, brushing away fine desert sand from a small clay bowl. The bowl itself is simple. No gold, no jewels, just ordinary pottery. Yet as she holds it carefully, she smiles. Someone once used this bowl every morning. Perhaps to eat bread. Perhaps to share fruit with family. Suddenly, the distance of 2,000 years feels much smaller. History becomes human once again. That may be the greatest gift the ancient world offers us. It reminds us that people long ago were not so different from ourselves. They hoped. They worried. They laughed. They raised children. They worked hard. They rested after long days. They watched the same stars. They admired beautiful sunsets. They gathered around warm meals with people they loved. Across thousands of years, These simple experiences remain wonderfully familiar. Imagine now that we are standing once more beside the broad plains where the Parthian horsemen once rode. The grass moves gently beneath the moonlight. No armies cross these fields tonight. Only the quiet wind. Only the peaceful songs of distant insects. Only the endless sky stretching above everything. Take one slow breath. Feel the cool evening air. Listen carefully. You may almost hear the faint ringing of caravan bells far beyond the horizon. Perhaps the soft footsteps of a faithful horse returning home. Perhaps the quiet laughter of children drifting from a distant village. Or perhaps only silence. A gentle, comforting silence. The kind that invites peaceful sleep. Our journey through the Parthian Empire has come to its end. Together, we crossed deserts and rivers. We visited royal palaces and humble homes. We shared bread with farming families. We rested beside merchants on ancient roads. We stood before sacred fires. We wandered through colorful markets. We watched the sunrise over wheat fields. We admired skilled craftsmen at work. We discovered that history is not only the story of rulers and wars. It is also the story of quiet mornings, kind neighbors, patient hands, gentle traditions, simple meals, and ordinary people living meaningful lives. Perhaps that is why the Parthian Empire still feels alive, even after so many centuries. Not because every building survived, but because its people left behind something far more lasting. A reminder that peace often grows in ordinary places, that wisdom is often spoken softly, that kindness rarely seeks attention, and that every generation adds its own small chapter to the long story of humanity. Now the stars shine high above us. The moon slowly continues its journey across the sky. The breeze grows cooler. The ancient roads fade gently into darkness. It is time for our own journey to rest. Thank you for walking through history with me tonight. If you found comfort in this quiet journey through the Parthian Empire and Rome, I hope you'll join me again for another peaceful walk into the ancient world. Until then, if you enjoyed this bedtime history story, a gentle like, a kind comment, and subscribing to the channel are wonderful ways to support more calm journeys like this. Now, let the sounds of the ancient world slowly drift away. Let the roads grow silent. Let the campfires become glowing embers. Let the horses rest beneath the stars. And as the peaceful night wraps gently around you, may your thoughts become lighter. May your breathing become slower. May your dreams carry you gently across quiet fields, peaceful villages, and ancient roads where history whispers softly with every step. Good night, and thank you for sharing this journey through the world of the Parthians.